7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, Claudia, you're good.
Okay, this is Sanjeev here, Sanjeev Tana here. Can you hear me?
Okay,
I'm
you're
here.
good.
Good.
Okay, 30 seconds.
Good evening. I'm Claudia Cruz, live from KMVT. I'm here with.
I'm Sanjeev Tana.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We're live from 1400 Terabella. Make sure you can stop by. We'll be here from 7 to 10, bringing you election night coverage. And Sanjeev, we have a huge lineup of guests coming to the studio tonight.
Yeah, we have city councilmen from Mountain View, Sunnyvale, Los Gatos, and Cupertino. So we have a list of people already in the mic, already at the studio. Mike Kaspersen, he's already outgoing Mountain View councilman. He's here. So we're going to just don't go anywhere. We're going to interview him very shortly.
Yeah, we're hoping that, I know that everybody is tied to the national election, but our local measures, our local council member races, school district, Foothill-De Anza College's Board of Trustees, those are all important for the communities and important to you. So make sure that you stay with us for the next couple hours, and again, stop by here at KMVT. And I think we have an interview with Bobby, who spoke earlier today with Patrick Ahrens, and we'll take it away to Bobby now. Okay. Nice. So now we unmic
Hi, Bobby
you.
Chastain here again. This time I'm with Patrick Ahrens and Mako Mori. Patrick is running for Foothill-De Anza College Board, and Mako is his campaign manager. Thanks both of you for being part of our election night evening.
Delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
So I'll start with you, Patrick. You're running, obviously you're a young person, relatively so. What made you decide to throw your hat in the ring this time?
Well, I'm a product of the Foothill-De Anza district, and I care very deeply about these education issues, and there's an opportunity to run for this board seat. There's an opening in this November, 2 actually, and I felt that this is a great opportunity to step up, to give back to the community. I was a former student at De Anza. I was actually a former student representative on this board, and what an opportunity it's been to launch this campaign and talk about student-centered issues facing the district.
And what are some of those issues for, I think a lot of people watch, I think everyone loves and appreciates De Anza and Foothill for the opportunity. I know I attended there for a while. What are sort of the challenges upcoming?
Well, Foothill-De Anza is known nationally as being one of the best community colleges, and it doesn't happen overnight. And we have a lot of students, faculty, staff, administrators working very hard to make sure that we have all of the successes and all of the opportunities for our students to succeed and transfer onto a 4-year university. I think some of the things that we all need to work on is enrollment growth has been declining in recent years. That's partially due to the economy, but also partially due to the need to refocus our energy on investing in education. We need to keep it affordable. We need to keep it accessible for Silicon Valley. It's very expensive to live in this community. I know I'm a product of the district. I am born and raised in Silicon Valley, and it's hard to be able to afford to live here. And community college is that last bastion of hope for a lot of people to be able to lift themselves up and obtain the American dream.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you are actually a graduate of De Anza. Is that sort of, if not unique, at least unusual for someone running for the board?
I think we've only had, I believe, one in the past, Dolly Sandoval, who was a student trustee, former mayor of Cupertino, and she became a trustee. And it is rare. And I think that I've had a lot of wonderful support from students like Mako, my campaign manager, 40, 50 students a weekend coming out, just excited about this campaign and about what we stand for. And it helps that I'm a product of this district, because on day one, if I'm so fortunate to be elected tonight, I'll be able to hit the ground running and really work very hard to make sure that our community colleges continue being the best it can possibly be.
And so, Mako, what goes into managing a campaign?
Okay, yeah, I've learned a lot this quarter, but I think what goes in is a lot of coordination with volunteers, because these students that are campaigning for Patrick they don't just have a lot of free time. A lot of them are full-time working and also full-time students. So it's really hard for them to find time. But, regardless, we have 30, 40 people coming out every week, phone banking and also walking for Patrick, because we really do believe in what he stands for, and he's fighting for us students.
So, on a national level, obviously, there's polling, probably too much of it. How do you guys get a sense of how you're doing on the run up to Election Day?
Well, we're feeling really good about our chances. We are the only grassroots campaign and along the peninsula. We've been having, like Mako mentioned, so many students coming out and supporting us. I think at the beginning, when we started this campaign with only a handful of students and a desire to want to make change, positive change for the district to keep education affordable and accessible, last April, I don't think a lot of people really gave us a chance, because I'm young and because we represent sort of a lot of the student values. But I think now we've been able to get the Palo Alto Weekly's endorsement, the Los Altos Town Crier's endorsement, dozens of elected officials. They've seen the strength of our numbers in this grassroots campaign, and we've been able to help our allies on the various city councils. This district is huge, 6 cities, and it's going to take grassroots sort of political work from the bottom up to be able to get really progressive grassroots organizing in office. And these are social justice issues, access and affordability to college, and those are won and fought every single election. They don't just go away just because you win one race. And so we're very optimistic, I think, about our chances. And nevertheless, we still have 20 students who are phone banking even right now to make sure that we get out the votes, because we know that every vote counts in this election. And in an election where you see the national politics sort of be so deflating for so many people, I think it's really reassuring to show the students, just like I was shown in 2008 with the President Obama's election, that there is still hope, that we are still optimistic about the future if we stay involved, and we can make change if we desire to do so. But we have to show up to vote, and we have to get involved.
So just very quickly, probably the one perk of being the best perk of being the campaign manager. Where's the party tonight?
We're actually going to a couple, but there's actually one at our school at De Anza, and there's another one at
the Labor Council.
Yes, the Labor Council. So we'll be going there.
Well, best of luck to both of you. Thanks for being part of our evening.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And let's take it back to Claudia.
Welcome back.
Hi,
I'm
Bobby
Claudia Cruz
Chastain.
here at KMVT's Election Night coverage, and I'm here with Mike Kasperzak, who is leaving the Mountain View City Council. How do you feel about that?
I don't feel great about it.
How long has it been? Because you skipped the term, skipped the election.
This is my second 8-year term, so I have 16 years under my belt, and it's become a part of my life, and there's a little withdrawal. It's
like the Obama video of what's he going to do after he leaves the White House. What are you going to do?
He's way better situated than I am.
Well, Mountain View isn't a bad place to be, so it's a pretty good situation.
No. I got a house, and things are good. Things are good.
So I saw you this morning outside of the Caltrain station. Who were you there with, and what were you doing?
And by the way, it's been far too long. I get to see you twice in one day. But no, I was out at 6:15 this morning, and I was doing leafleting for Measure B, the transportation tax. And Santa Clara County's had a great history of passing every one of those We're one of the first counties in the country to do our own self-help, and hoping we get this one through as well.
The polls here don't close till 8, so we don't have any results yet. What you're hoping, you're thinking it's going to pass? There were the arguments against Measure B that there hadn't been completed projects, that the money hadn't been used appropriately or carefully. Is that whole hogwash, and you think that it's still...
It depends on what the projects are. I mean, BART is on schedule and under budget. It's actually ahead of schedule and under budget. But we haven't really been focusing on BART. In fact, Mountain View was actually very involved with the western cities in the county to work with the leadership group about coming up with a way to more fairly allocate some of those funds into the north and west part of the county. So we got more money
for the electrification?
We got more money for Caltrain. We got more money for grade separations, which are really important. Less money going to overall freeway enhancement. And I think they actually took a little bit more of a hit on the BART, so that more of the revenue would be shared throughout the county than really being focused on the San Jose area.
Well, that's part of the consideration, is the grade separation at Castro and
well, that's a whole. We got to get Rengstorff done first, because we've already designed that, and so that's a really important one. Downtown is really complicated, because how do you do a tunnel or an underpass in downtown Mountain View?
So what will you do now when you're outgoing?
I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. There are a number of opportunities, consulting. I mean, I'm getting a little long in the tooth too. So, I'm not starting out as a 28-year-old pup. So.
Well, we look forward to what you will be doing, hopefully still in the community. And I think we have other people who've already stopped by the studio. And I'm going to throw it back to Sanjeev, who's with Val Jeffries and Charles Sigelski from Better Part Producers.
Hello, good evening. My name is Sanjeev Tanna. I'm here at KMVT Mountain View Studio. I'm here with Val Jeffrey and Chuck Sigelski. So Chuck, tell us about your connection with League of Women Voters. What exactly you did about the show?
This all started back in about 2011. We started doing the League of Women Voters. We discussed it with them, and they felt it would be a good idea to put it on tape so they could pass it around to the libraries and all the places so that they could cover it. The League itself had special requirements. We got the propositions, and at about in late August, and in between that and October, we had to edit it, we had to tape it, and we also had to have it ready to be on air by in October, the beginning of October. So it was a very, very difficult, very tense. The League was covering the propositions. The propositions, this time we had 17 propositions, and it was really surprising. So we had to decide to break it into 2 shows. We did the part 1 and the part 2. Part 2 was on money, and the part 1 was on criminal justice. We ran the 2 shows consecutively, which was very hard. They were very happy with it. They put it on the air. Susan Howe and Elaine Manley. Elaine Manley is the president of the League of Sunnyvale, Cupertino, and Susan Howe is the vice president of education for voters, which is very good. They really worked with us. They presented the pros and cons of the propositions. They wanted to make it clear that this was an unbiased viewpoint, and the people would have to make up their own minds. So they didn't push them one way or the other, which is very good. I'm really for this. I like something that is unbiased, and the voters get the information so they can make the decisions.
So other than that, both of you are involved with the Better Part investment. So, well, you want to talk about that, what exactly this show is about, and who is sponsoring this show, and what exactly you do? What is this show about?
Well, we are Cupertino TV Productions, and we make a program called The Better Part, and we record right here at KMVT15 in Mountain View. And we do programs about lots of different subjects. This particular one that Chuck produced was for the League of Women's Voters, and it was to help us with the ballot measures, to help us make an educated decision. And my job on the night actually was on the teleprompter. We all wear many hats. I produce, host, we all wear many hats, but I was on the teleprompter. And Susan and Elaine did a wonderful job. They did lots of research, but the main thing was that we were doing 2 programs back to back. They had a lot to say, and we had to do it in a certain amount of time. So that means that it was a bit of a challenge, but we had a strategy, and it worked, and we nailed it.
Okay. Chuck, well, I would like to thank you, both of you, for stopping by at KMVT Studio. Next, just go with Bobby with the part by Red. Thank you.
Hi, Bobby Chastain, KMVT. I'm here this time with Parth Barwad. He is running for Cupertino City Council. Parth, thanks for being part of our evening.
And thank you for having me. This is very important in really reaching out to the voters.
So, 2016, a lot of people following politics right now. Why, for you, felt like this was the right time to get involved?
So I really think we need a millennial perspective in Cupertino on the city council. We're kind of on the brink of changing the landscape of our city for a long time, and the next generation of Cupertino is really the millennials, and it's important for them to have a seat at the decision-making table, in my opinion. And that's really the underlying motive that I have for running for city council.
Yeah, that's right at the top of the things you want to do is take care of a teen center, make sure that the kids are doing all right. I think Cupertino has a reputation as being a place that's great for education and young people. So, I mean, is there room for improvement?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can always do more to increase civic engagement. And one of the strategies that we're trying to implement is getting a student position on commissions. And we really want to just increase that sense of civic responsibility from a young age. And I think with the smart youth that we have in Cupertino, it's really possible for them to also expand in their civic engagement on the day-to-day.
So, sort of top level debate for any Silicon Valley city is growth versus, how do we preserve the community? So where do you stand on that, and how do you accomplish it?
So currently we have Valco Shopping Center, which is there's a proposal to redevelop that mall, and it's caused quite a lot of heated debate in Cupertino about which direction we want to head. And I really think it's about asking the citizens what they want. There's been an outreach period that didn't successfully work with the developer, and so I think it's really about asking the citizens, what do we want with Valco, whether we want to keep a retail or whether we want to do more mixed use like they're proposing right now. And personally, I support mixed use. I think to attract more millennials, we need some more affordable housing there. We need some more mixed use development where you can have a park and you have shopping, office space to really create a more community environment at Valco.
So, you mentioned to me before this that, there are certain people would sooner see Cupertino just kind of go the way of Saratoga, and that's not what that's, I don't think that's the destiny of Cupertino. Apple II is landing. What's sort of your idealized version of what Cupertino would be, decades from now?
So I think Cupertino should continue down the path we have right now, where we have limited growth, but Valco is it's an anomaly almost. It's just a shopping center that's coming to its dead, and we have an opportunity to redevelop it. So if you look across Cupertino, there aren't massive developments being proposed everywhere. It is quite controlled, but we have certain areas that have been economically struggling for a long time now, and it's good that we have an opportunity to revitalize those, because that's going to keep the economic health of our city good for the future of the city.
It seems like the hub activity shifted from Valco when I was your age or younger, and now there's new things going up. You have any opinion on the new Cupertino downtown, which seemed to me to go up almost overnight?
Yeah, so that has caused its own kind of heat discussion on whether that was the right project for Cupertino. I personally love it. I think it's a nice Main Street Cupertino environment for us to eat, shop, and really hang out with friends. So I like it.
Okay, so how have you found campaigning? This is probably a huge undertaking. You're obviously busy. You're a student at San Jose State. and it sounds like you've been already civically involved. So throwing campaigning on top of that, how do you balance it, and how have you found, what are the challenges of campaigning?
So I think for my campaign, it's been name recognition. We've been working very hard to let people even know who I am and why I'm running. And so it's been, honestly, going door to door has been the most successful way for us, because when voters talk to you, they really are willing to believe in that millennial perspective and that millennial voice. So I think the voters of Cupertino definitely want to change in city council. Almost the national level politics is mimicked in Cupertino right now, where people are upset with the city council and they're looking for change. And what better change than a millennial perspective to add to the council?
So, and I know this is sort of maybe an unfair question, but being a millennial, I mean, only 20 years old, right? I mean, this would be some sort of record.
Yeah, it would be in Cupertino, definitely.
So what is a millennial perspective? What is your generation prioritizing?
So I think we bring a new way of thinking and a problem solving to the table, and that just comes from generational gap. It's not a better or worse solution to problem solving, but I think it is a new way, a new perspective. A brief example is I think a lot of millennials are willing to live in condos and apartments, and in Cupertino there's this drive towards single family housing, when in reality having mixed use housing and lowers traffic congestion, and millennials are willing to live in those smaller units. So I think that's a clear example of the difference between an older ideology versus a newer ideology of where Cupertino can go.
Well, great. And then any plans for tonight? You're obviously not having your party at a bar, so what are you planning for on here on election night?
So we just have a campaign team coming over and some any donors, and it's kind of an open invitation. Anybody who wants to come is invited, but it's a very low-key event that we're having at my house, just with it's a very intimate event. And just,
all the support goes in. How do you get people to endorse you? How do you get people to, spend time volunteering?
So I think it's endorsements have just been through email. I find emails and I send them out.
That's very millennial.
Exactly, and it's a very grassroots campaign where I started off and I was like, I'm running for city council, and everybody's like, who is this kid and what's he doing? And I started going door to door before anybody else. I had yard signs up before anybody else. So we've really been running a grassroots campaign from the beginning, and I hope that's reflected in the results tonight.
And 20 years old, win or lose tonight, is politics sort of in your bones now?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's about really being engaged with the community, and they're really willing to give a young person an opportunity. And so I see this as a long-term path for me. It's not just a one and done, really.
Well, you're obviously a very impressive young man. I wish you the best of luck this evening and beyond. So thanks for being part of our night.
Thank you so much.
And let's go back to Claudia.
Welcome back. I'm Claudia Cruz here at KMVT. If you want to join us, we're at 1400 Terabella. There's food, there's wine, there's great company. But I'm here with School District Trustee, Mountain View Wisman School District Trustee, Jose Gutierrez, who is an incumbent, but he had to run again because it was a special, you were appointed, it was a special election. What happened there?
Yes, a little over a year ago, I was appointed after Trustee Chang had resigned. At that point, there were 11 candidates. I was the lucky one who got selected, and then I opted to also run this year for the full 4-year term.
So after that test run, pilot program of a year, what did you feel you accomplished, and what do you hope to, if you were elected tonight, re-elected, what do you hope to do in the next 4 years?
I think what we need to do together as a district is come together. We have different perspectives in different neighborhoods. It doesn't matter where we come from or where we send our children to school. What counts is that we're in this together. What I like is the dynamism that the superintendent has. He's young, he's energetic, and he's got a mission. He wants to make our school district the best we can be, with cooperation not just with the parents, but with teachers and with the community at large. That includes also our business partners. What I was able to notice during this past year, though, frankly, is that the board had to realign itself with its actual mission, and that's to help serve students and help them succeed. To do that, we need a strategic plan. We needed to figure out what works well, what doesn't work well at each school site, and then figure out what the teachers need so that they can be able to better teach the next generation science standards, the new English language arts curriculum, the new math curriculum in general. To do that, you need to talk to one another. You need to trust each other, and you have to build that rapport. During this past year, I hoped very much that we could do that on the board and with the superintendent, but more importantly also with the community itself. Because we can't do this without parent participation, we can't do this without teachers, and we can't do this without ourselves working together as a team.
And you mentioned communication among the board of trustees. That had been an issue in the past. There was great candidates up for election this year. Do you think you could work with anyone who's elected? If you're elected, could you work with anyone else who also joins you on the board?
I think that's the goal of everyone that's running in general, that we understood that there's a weakness to the board and communication, and then also professional courtesy. All of us, by what I've been able to tell, one way or another, we're striving to meet those standards. Because the point to all this is to have a higher standard for all of us on the board and for the district. To do that, you have to work with anyone that's willing to run. I've been able to get to know Peter Dara, Tamron Wilson, and also Miss Laura Blakely. And I think that however this turns out, one way or another, the standards are higher, the expectations should be there to be higher as well. And hopefully, if it turns out that I'm on the board, we'll continue to meet those standards.
Now, there are articles written about the achievement gap of the Mountain View Wisma School District students, particularly the English language learners. How is that? I'm sure that's a focus. How will you tackle that so that everything else can fall into place?
Sure, and that was part of my platform when I ran as well. I had a multi-step approach to the achievement gap. The way I look at it is we have 3 preschools and 2 TK programs. Well, if we want to tackle the achievement gap and the 30 million word gap that exists by the time students begin kindergarten, we need to have more pre-K classes, we need to have more TK classes, and we need to have a plan. These programs also have to be high quality. And once you factor that in with targeting our 1st through 3rd graders, we need to do something to help them be better prepared so that when they do take the tests in 4th and 5th grade, they'll be ready to do that. How do you do that? I'm a big proponent of SEAL, the Sobrado program. And what this program does is it teaches early academic language model for children and teachers to participate in. It stems its academic root in collaborative learning, not just for the teachers, but for the students. What does that mean? Well, what they use basically is a teaching methodology, a pedagogy per se, where they will use academic language stemmed in the sciences and also social studies. When you have that program in place and you have teachers coming together in the district, working with a coach to develop a lesson plan, to develop a perspective of how you teach this program to our children within the school district itself, addressing a district-wide issue with a district-wide resolution, you have something positive there. And it's been used last year and it positively affected 36,000 students in the state of California. Over 11 different school districts are using that in over 65 schools.
How can the community get involved? Now, this helping bridge or close the achievement gap for children in our district, that just helps the children, but it helps the community and the county and the state. How can people who don't have children in the school district get involved?
Volunteer. You need to step in, and we all can, one way or another. It doesn't matter what school is close to you. What matters is that you participate in that school. So if you have children in the district or not, one way or another, we always have a need for help. People at random moments come into the elementary school levels, sites, and they ask, how can I help? Well, we need teacher aides, right? We also have after-school programs where we'll need adult supervision, or we'll need adults to be able to help out with whatever programs we have there for the students. So if you're interested in tackling that achievement gap and making a difference one way or another, just stop by the school.
Jose, thanks so much for stopping by. I know you have an election night party at Tide House with Laura Blakely and Peter Dara. I'm going to throw it back to Sanjeev, who's here with Theta Corns over at the other studio. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Sanjeev Tana. I'm with Theta Corns, Mountain View Council candidate. Theta, we want to talk about this, since this is the election night. Tell me about your campaign. What exactly you ran your campaign based on? What are your highest priority if you get elected as a Mountain View councilman? What exactly would you do as a first thing?
Well, my first priority is to build a 21st century transportation system. I co-founded Great Streets Mountain View to work on this issue to make biking and walking safer for all ages, particularly our kids. The first project we did was actually the blinking lights across Shoreline Boulevard, and the second project was safety improvements in front of Graham. That's still an ongoing issue, and then also advocating for Escuela, Shoreline, and California streets. And then also for me, increasing the diversity and types of housing and increasing housing for all is really important to me. And then I've been a Parks and Rec Commissioner. This is my 8th year. So advancing environmental sustainability. I should also add that I move a little differently because I have a disability. So
we can appreciate that. So Theta, Mountain View definitely has it's growing, no doubt about it. We have a Google headquarters here, and then we have many high-tech and biotech companies here. So with this, so many companies are growing right now. How do you solve this traffic issue? I mean, this is not one time you just come up with a solution, it requires a long-term strategy. So do you have any strategy to solve this traffic issue?
Yes, I think basically we need to shift our mode from single occupancy vehicles to transit and biking and walking in the long term. I think we also need to look at, the reason I say 21st century is there are technologies that are coming online such as people movers, self-driving cars, and possibly even a magnetic rail system they're talking about. So I think it'll take time. These are long-term goals, but I think in the short term, there are short-term fixes we can do around Mountain View to make biking and walking more safe. Just like I said before, I think we could have more safe intersections. We could add, I got made fun of this a little bit, but there are rubber bumpers that you can add to intersections, and it sort of slows down the cars at the intersections. I think also raised crosswalks, adding striping to the crosswalks, that makes pedestrians and bicyclists more visible at crosswalks. Because unfortunately we've had fatalities in the past year, 7 fatalities, and those have all been at intersections.
What about the housing, not the rising the rental price? I mean, not everybody can afford to live in Mountain View, even though you want to rent an apartment or you want to buy a house. You know, it's not easy for people who don't have enough money to survive, and they barely have this food to bring the money for their family. So how do you deal with this? How do you make sure that everyone can afford the housing and they can rent the apartment if they need to?
Well, so we have a real issue in Mountain View. We have a very low acceptance rate of existing government programs. About a third of people in Mountain View cannot afford to live here. That means they're paying 30% or more of their income towards rent. Of those, about 64% would qualify for some sort of government assistance. But the Section 8, which is a government program, there's only about 160 people that are on that. And there's a 10-year waiting list, and that waiting list is only about 400 people. So I think there's a lot we could do with our affordable housing funds to increase the acceptance rate of Section 8, and that would provide immediate relief to people who are low income.
So I want to quickly go over the safety. What would you do to improve the safety of Mountain View residents?
Well, I think the biggest safety issue we have right now, unfortunately, is bike and pedestrian injuries and fatalities. I also think, we have a good police department, but they do not have the level of enforcement they need to enforce traffic. We're in a good economy right now, so we've had less gang activity, and the police are working with various youth organizations to reduce our gang activity. I have heard, though, of packages being stolen, so I think we need to work with police to better target the police, and also they're piloting body cameras. I'm interested in working with them on that, and also making sure that they have the resources they need.
Okay. Tira, thank you very much. Next, over to John with Tamara Wilson. Thank you.
Hi, this is John Helmholtz down at Agave in downtown Mountain View with Mountain View Wisman School District candidate Tamara Wilson. How you doing, Tamara?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here with us tonight and for being willing to be interviewed by us.
Absolutely, I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. So can I ask you a couple questions about the election?
Sure, please, go ahead.
Great. So I'm understanding that you're running for the Mountain View Wisman School District candidate seat. Can you tell me about how the election has been so far for you?
The election has been great so far. The campaigning has been a real learning experience for me. I've met a lot of wonderful people, and a lot of them are going to be here tonight. I'm expressing my gratitude for all of their help in campaigning and walking streets and just their support and their donations. So it's been a real neat experience for me to see my neighbors and my friends and even people I didn't know before this experience come together and really support me. It's been really remarkable.
Sure. So I'm to understand that you've taught around different parts of the U.S. How has that brought a bit of a unique perspective to you for being a candidate in this election?
I believe I'm the only candidate who's ever has some teaching experience. I've taught university level classes. I've done tutoring for learning disadvantaged students at the university level. I've also worked with the Reading Partners program at the Castro Elementary. So I have a lot of experience both developing curriculum and implementing it, which I think kind of sets me apart.
So if you were to be elected for this candidate position, what do you feel, what would be your first goal that you would hope to accomplish?
My first goal I'd hope to accomplish is just trying to bring a sense of stability and unity back to the board. We've got a lot of tough decisions ahead of us regarding boundaries, changing things around, and I really think we need to work together and have a more cohesive, unified front in moving forward and bringing a positive influence in the district. I think a lot of the recent negativity has really been bringing things down, and I know we can turn this around.
Sure. Now, I'm to understand that you believe in the new long-term vision for Strategic Plan 2021. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I do. I believe it puts the target back on the children, and it actually has very specific delineated metrics on how that's going to be achieved and when to measure them and how to report back. So it's not only what we want to do, but how, when, and timelines, and it has metrics to gauge how successful we are at doing that. And I think that's something we've been lacking, especially in trying to close the achievement gap.
Sure. So I'm to understand that you moved here in 2009 to Mountain View?
I did, yeah. We moved here and lived on Permanente off Villa, right up the street here, and then bought our first home over in the Wisman neighborhood in 2011.
Great. So any closing thoughts for your run in the election?
I'm just really excited. Get out and vote. Whatever happens in this, we're going to have a positive direction moving forward with the district, which is what we want and what we're all there for all the kids. And I'm just really excited to see how tonight plays out. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely, me too. Well, thank you so much, Tamara, for joining us. So this is Tamara Wilson down at Agave and downtown Mountain View for all of our kids. Back to you at KMVT.
I remember last year, you talked to me two years ago.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Claudia Cruz. I'm here with current Mountain View Mayor Pat Showalter. Thanks for joining us here at our election night party at KMVT.
So glad to be here.
So talk to us about, you're going to have a new council coming in. Someone like if elected, Margaret Ivy Koga has had past experience, and you'll have some people who have been on commissions but haven't served in the council. What are you foreseeing for the next couple? Oh, you're only mayor for 2 more months, but you're on the council for another 2 years.
Yes.
Right. What are you looking forward to about working together with some new council members?
Well, really, for decades, Mountain View has had a tradition of civility, working on the councils. I think it's one of our secrets for getting so much work done, as we really treat each other civilly. We do disagree on issues quite often, but we vote and we move on, and we don't do personal attacks on one another. And I think that civility is something that really serves us well, and it also makes it a lot more fun, because if you think that you're about to be stabbed in the back by somebody, you don't want to really pour your heart out about what you think absolutely needs to be done or doesn't. So it really leads to, I think, a much more vibrant discussion and better outcomes.
You've been on the council now 2 years?
2 years.
What's it been like? I mean, it's one thing to be a resident, it's one thing to be on a commission, and it's pretty much a volunteer position as well. Like, what's it like to be
well,
a
you
volunteer
do get paid,
mayor?
but it isn't a lot.
It's very minimal. It's like less than $6,000 a year or something. It's very small. What's it like to spend so much time on community issues?
Well, it's really fascinating. Things get thrown at you very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I've had a little problem with is I'm an engineer, and as an engineer, you're supposed to really understand things sort of down to the bare bones, or not make a decision. And you can't be like that on council. You have to. There's
an emotional aspect to it.
Yeah, there's an emotional aspect, but you also just have to kind of go with your gut, and you have to rely on other people. So that's been really interesting for me to sort of learn to do that more. And fortunately, there's a lot of people in the community that I send emails to, and that I know are experts in various things. And when that topic comes up, I send them an email and say, "What do you think?"
Well, part of going with your gut, there's Mountain View continues to grow.
Yes.
There is a shortage of housing.
There is.
There's about, I think the Voice reported about 150, 170 people living in their vehicles around Mountain View. There is traffic congestion and an increased amount of traffic congestion in addition to lack of housing. There's little things that just affect the day-to-day life of individuals. What are you hoping to accomplish in the next 2 years, and hopefully with the next council?
I really describe the housing and the traffic as the two perils of prosperity. You know, we're really blessed with all these wonderful jobs, but we don't have enough places for people to sleep comfortably. And we certainly know that our roadways are clogged. So this council has been really concentrating on increasing the supply of housing. And we've done that, and we have a lot we're changing the zoning in the North Bay Shore to continue to do that. And this summer we had an intense effort to evaluate the needs of our homeless community, to come up with some services that we could do to help them to become housed, because clearly it's not good for people to be living in their cars or vehicles, and it's not good for the community. So I see us continuing with those efforts, because they've been going on for a long time. They need a lot of work, and they'll continue to need a lot of work.
This is a regional, I mean, I know this,
Absolutely
it's a regional effort.
Claudia, that's a really good thing, a good point to make. You know, these problems don't stop at our boundaries, and so we need to do our part, but we also need to work with our neighbors. And one thing I'm really proud of is the leadership that Mountain View took with respect to Measure B. I mean, John McAllister, when he was the mayor, and our city manager, Dan Rich, got together the mayors from the northern part of the county to work on getting an allocation for Measure B. That's the sales tax measure that's on the ballot tonight, and hopefully that will pass. We certainly don't know yet, but it wasn't as oriented toward the North County as it needed to be, and so with a concerted effort by the mayors of the North County, I got involved in it when I became mayor. We got that allocation changed, so it's much more favorable to North County.
No, it's again, as a resident of Mountain View and someone who travels on Caltrain every day, I'm affected by the crowding on Caltrain. Public transportation, the highways, whenever I do need to use my car to go to San Francisco, San Jose, anything that we could do to alleviate traffic. As a New Yorker, I'd love to have public transportation, and I would use that more than anything else. Just a quick question, how's it going with the Mountain View community shuttle?
Well, it continues to go. Google is supporting it, continues to support it, which is great. And the ridership has gone steadily up.
Okay. So it's about awareness. People just need to know more about it.
Yes, it's good that you mentioned that. There's a shuttle that's available kind of during the middle of the day. I think it's from 10 to 6, and it goes in 2 directions. And it makes a circuit. It takes about a half an hour to make a circuit around the schedule, and you can find that schedule on the Mountain View website. It's working well.
Well, Pat Showalter, Mayor of Mountain View, here with us at KMVT. We're going to throw it over to an interview with John Cordes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good to talk to you, Claudia.
Hi, Bobby Chastain here. This time we're with John Cordes. John is running for election to Sunnyvale City Council, Seat 4. John, thanks so much for being part of our election night.
Thank you, Bobby. It's good to be back here talking with voters and all the other residents of Sunnyvale.
So what made you decide to throw your hat in the ring this time?
Well, I've always wanted to help people. It started the way I grew up. I have a Christian background, and I grew up caring for 3 younger siblings. And then for college, I went away to the United States Coast Guard Academy, and they very much drilled into the idea of serving others. And it's been kind of reinforced through my church. I came back to Sunnyvale in 2003 after being away for a little while. And I moved in my present neighborhood in Snail in 2007. In 2009, I was elected chair of the Neighborhood Association, and I did that for 3 years. And that was when the tall LinkedIn buildings went up on Matilda Avenue, and that really impacted the neighbors in Snail. They, blocked a lot of the sun and created all kinds of shade and privacy issues. So I've always been involved and interested in politics. I've been involved with the Sierra Club for decades and the political committee chair. And so I decided it was finally time, because I retired from working for the Sierra Club in November of 2015. It was time to run for city council. And the reason for running was I felt I could be much more effective on the dais than speaking in front of it. I mean, I've been speaking in front of it for a long time on different environmental issues and social benefit issues, and I really want to be able to have more of an impact of being on the dais itself.
And, sort of top on your agenda, it seems like, is to slow growth. So I think there's people, and obviously, I drive down Matilda every day. So I think there's people that will say that sort of horse is out of the barn already. How do you effectively, and can you effectively, slow growth in Sunnyvale?
I am, and I'm running on a platform of slowing growth, primarily office growth. I think we still need some of the housing because we have a lot more people working in Sunnyvale than living in Sunnyvale. So I'm primarily interested in slowing down the office growth. I want to do that by increasing the development fees and then using that money to provide free Sunnyvale shuttles, more safe route to schools, more encouragement of businesses to offer carpool services, all kinds of other things that will hopefully reduce the load on our city streets. We have our 20-year plan to add 40,000 jobs in Sunnyvale and only 15,000 houses, and I'm working strenuously against that. I think we need to cut it down to like a 1-to-1 housing to jobs ratio for the next 20 years, where for every house we should only add one job. And raising development fees would enable us to do that.
So obviously, you said the time was right to campaign now that you've been doing it for a while now. What have been the challenges of campaigning? What have you found good about it? What have you learned? And, how much expensive it is?
Okay. So there's a lot of trouble getting attention at the local level when you're campaigning and when there's a national election on. I was much happier when Sunnyvale was an odd-year election city, and a lot of cities were until everybody got shifted. And I'd love it if we went back to that because I think you get much more attention on local issues when you're having odd-year elections. Being down ballot, you're really required to reach out to a lot more voters. Sunnyvale is 150,000 people and 61,000 voters this year. So you need a lot of money to reach out to 61,000 voters. You use Facebook, you use Twitter, you use all these other social medias, but if you really want to get your message out, you need to mail people 2 or 3 times, and it's 60,000 people. That's about 30,000 households you've got to mail. 50 cents to $1 a mailer, that's $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 you need to be able to campaign effectively. And so it really puts people like me that are not being funded by developers at a serious disadvantage. And we've seen it in the last few, 2008, 2013, 2014 elections, where the people that are running in favor of defending the residents don't get the funding that the people that are running that are supported by the developers.
So what do you know? Exciting evening. Returns will start coming in around 8 o'clock. What are your plans for this evening?
So we're going to have our election celebration at the City Place Wine Bar, 275 West Washington Avenue in downtown Sunnyvale. I'm looking forward to see a lot of my voters and supporters coming by and saying hi, and I want to thank all of them for all their votes and all their support, and helping that they share the same vision of I do of a greener Sunnyvale.
Well, John, thanks so much for making time for us.
Thank you, Bobby.
And best of luck this evening, and let's take it out to Claudia.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Claudia Cruz. If you still want to stop by our election night party, we're at KMVT 1400 Torabella here in Mountain View. But right now I'm here with Tony Cyrus, the CEO of the Mountain View Chamber of Commerce. Tony, you've been there a year. How's it been? What's it been like? Are you happy? Would you change anything? Like, what's going on?
I can't believe it's been a year. I think it was October 15th was my 1-year anniversary, and it felt like 2 or 3 months. So, but it's been an amazing ride. I mean, I grew up in Mountain View. My first bank account was opened at that Wells Fargo bank, so I have a long history, but I had no idea what that building was.
Okay.
So what I've been really focusing on is making sure that there's an awareness to the chamber in the entire community, and then really thinking about what we should be doing as it relates to business and the community.
What's the difference? I mean, you talk about awareness. I mean, I think there are a few of us who think of the chamber and just maybe take it for granted. We just assume the chamber is there. How do you build awareness when there may already be awareness, but maybe hasn't reached the right people? How do you reach those communities?
The way that they're being reached today. So we're using social media. So we're leveraging social platforms today the way that the Chamber's never done that before.
Okay.
And really focusing on the way that people communicate today. So we are working with Facebook and Twitter and Google and Instagram to really communicate what we're doing, what's going on. So it's really about both making sure that people know we're here and letting them know that what we're doing for the community. Because I think Mountain View's Chamber is very unique in that it's not 100% focused on business. We really care about the community. A lot of things that we do, Art and Wine Festival is a big community event, Celebration of Leaders is a community event. So I think we're a fascinating hybrid of success of business really comes from engaging your community in a successful way.
And then that leads me to some of the contentious issues on on the ballots, Measure V being one of them. And I think one that the Mountain View City Council was looking at and I think approved was the closing of Castro at Evelyn.
Yes.
So let's just start with Measure V, which is rent control. The chamber's position was against that.
Correct. So, we have a business issues and public policy group that reviews all of these things. So, and then they take that to the board, and the board was unanimous about its being against Measure V, and there's a lot of reasons for it. So it's not about necessarily rent control being good or bad. It was really about a charter amendment and what that means when you actually physically change the charter. So that was really, when you think about it, the fundamental abstract from our position was that's not how you do that. You know, it'd be like putting a charter amendment in place for a drought and putting it into your constitution about water reservations and things like that. So it's really, it's a situation that we're dealing with. You don't amend a charter for those kinds of things.
I wouldn't play devil's advocate because maybe the people who are advocates of Measure V are saying, well, this should be a fundamental part of the city moving forward, is to maintain and keep a hardworking population here. So if it's in the charter, then it's true to the essence of the city. What would you say about that?
So when you say putting it into the charter, the fundamental rights of what? See, when you put a charter amendment in that forces a private owner for a piece of property to control their costs and their profits, you've taken rights away from them. So remember that when you give rights, you take rights. So in this case, you've taken rights away from the private person. And what's interesting, you remember, this amendment, this charter amendment, only affects buildings built before 1995. 1995. Okay, so those are all older buildings, typically owned by individuals.
Who need to update them.
You bet. Right, and so it doesn't affect, my biggest concern is the larger corporations are all new. Right? So my concern has always been, personally, my brother was displaced. So my family was affected by this.
You understand.
But it's about inventory, right? So if you start restricting the return on something, people are no longer going to participate in creating it or maintaining it. Okay. So
I want to then turn to the closing of Castro Street at Evelyn. You guys take a against position on that as well.
Agreed. So a number of our businesses are small businesses on Castro Street, and we're very, very closely connected to the CBA. And they're very, very concerned about that. Now, again, personally, I believe that anything can be done as long as it's done in a collective and collaborative way. I think the community felt like they didn't understand what's going to happen. So you make a decision about closing something, but really want to know is how you can get around. And all of the conversations were about how you get from Castro to Shoreline and out. But what about people coming down Moffett? So I think it was really, I think it's too early at this point. It doesn't mean it can't be done or there's not a good solution there. But currently, the chamber and the small businesses are very opposed to it until they understand more about it.
So we're looking forward to the chamber educating the community more about what they're doing to help benefit all of us, right?
Wonderful. Yeah, that's what we do.
Correct. Tony Cyrus.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mountain View Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm going to throw it over to John with Larry Klein, Sunnyvale City Council member. Thank you.
Food for tonight's election coverage is provided by Cucina Vente. Food for tonight's election coverage is provided by Cucina Vente.
Hi, this is John Helmholtz out near downtown Sunnyvale with Larry Klein, who's running for the city council for Sunnyvale. How you doing, Larry?
Very good. It's election night, and finally the second campaign is over.
Well, thank you for letting us into your home. How has this election been for you so far?
It's been good. It's been as opposed to kind of the normal election of running towards November. This has been 2 10-week sprints. So started in June and ran to the August special election where I was elected with about 60% of the vote, and then ran again starting after that. Win or lose, you ran towards the November election, and good to see that second sprint is finally over.
Now, I'm to understand that you've spent nearly about 9 years with the Planning Commission in Sunnyvale. Now you're running for City Council. What has being with the Planning Commission kind of giving you, how's that giving you an upper hand for running for City Council?
Absolutely. So I've been active in the city for the last 15 years. So 9 years on the Planning Commission has given me a good understanding of land use, transportation, and I've been very much become an affordable housing advocate. So I've been working with a lot of the nonprofits, the housing nonprofits, to try to basically get new nonprofit housing or low-income housing built here in Sunnyvale. I've also been on the Historical Society board for 6 years on Charles Street Garden, Full Circle Farm. So I've really been active in the city for the last 15 years.
So with that history of working with the city so closely the past 15 years, what has that meant for your campaign?
So the biggest thing is when I'm meeting residents is being able to explain what's going on in the city, kind of helping them to solve their problems to a certain degree. So how do they deal with traffic calming? What do they do to deal with, what's happening with the downtown? So, that's always the standard question. What are we doing? What's the city doing for traffic? What's the city doing for housing? How can I actually educate them to either interface with the city or actually fix their problems?
So I understand that you have a couple different priorities set out for if you were to become elected for the seat, and I see here that you had finishing downtown, adding housing, affordable, fiscal responsibilities, reducing traffic. Out of those priorities, what do you think is the most important for you to focus on?
So as far as the biggest thing is finishing the downtown. So it's the heart and soul of our community to a large degree. It's why I first got involved in the city 15 years ago, and from a certain standpoint, it's critical from the fiscal portion of the city. It's like we've been losing sales tax dollars, we've been losing TOT for many, many years now, and so moving the downtown forward as quickly as possible is critical for the financial stability of our city. So we've been losing millions of dollars every year, and I hear, talking to residents, how many different other programs they would like us to work on, but it's finding that money, and so finishing the downtown is the first step of that. So that is kind of the critical thing, and being on the Planning Commission, about 3 months ago, I made the motion and it got approved for the first phase. That first phase will ultimately will finish the downtown as far as finishing the 198 units that are there, adding a cinema, adding a market, and opening up a lot of the retail, which will bring people downtown.
Well, I know with us being with the TV crew, we definitely would appreciate the cinema. Any closing thoughts on the election?
So from my standpoint, I'm hoping that the turnout at the end of the day was very good. It's like I'm hoping that the election that going through the special election was a precursor for getting elected tonight, and I'm looking forward to looking with my next council members, trying to improve the quality of life for everyone here in Sunnyvale and work on the issues that are at hand. So I look forward to the next 4 years.
Great, that sounds awesome. Well, thank you so much, Larry, for letting us into your home and letting us interview you. So back to you at KMVT.
Thank you very much.
Closer.
Okay. Welcome back. This is Sanjeev Tana here. I'm with Linda Davis. Linda is with League of Women.
League of Women Voters.
League of Women Voters. Linda, tell us about what exactly you do.
What do I do with the League of Women Voters? Right now, I'm in a position of Director of Voter Service for the League in Cupertino, Sunnyvale. And so I concern myself with trying to provide services, candidate forums at election time, a website of information, programs to explain ballot measures, things like that. I coordinated those kind of activities for this election. We try to provide information to voters so that they can make informed choices.
So what it takes to come up with, so let's just take an example of you want to set up a forum, and then you want to inform your audience that let's say just select any particular forum. What exactly you do? I mean, how much is involved? Is this financial?
How much is involved?
Right.
Well, in short, I worked starting mid-July through a couple of weeks ago, pretty much all waking hours. So, and it wasn't just me. There were a number of people. Total probably had 20 people in our organization working on forums in Cupertino, Sunnyvale. So you have a lot of communication with other people, sort of partners in the community, KMTV being one of our partners, and others, to provide for the videotaping or to provide various things. We also work with others to come up with the format that we're going to use and the questions and whatnot. So there's a lot of organizational work.
So where do you get your funding?
Funding?
This is nonprofit? I guess as I know. But
It doesn't take a lot of money because we are volunteers and we're not paid. So it doesn't cost a lot. So our money comes from members and contributors, mostly our members.
Do you see any different about this year elections compared to
at the national
previous
level?
one? Yeah.
Very different at the national level. At the local level, a little bit more contention, both amongst candidates in some instances, and also because of some of the local measures that were on the ballots in our two cities, Cupertino and Sunnyvale, land development related, land use and development related ballot measures that were different than what we've seen before on the ballot. So generally, I think there's dissatisfaction and there's an element of distrust or displeasure with government, and we see that certainly at the federal level, and we also see it at the local level.
So what are your major challenges, especially for this year? Did you face any, because especially the way the national elections is evolving, so do you face the similar, do you face any particular challenges where you can think, because right now Clinton and Trump, and there are some people who are with Trump or who are with Clinton, or they are, so pretty much people have made up their mind. So how do you play what's your role here?
So we not play a role at the federal level, but on the local level, we were concerned, for example, about some of the tactics and the tone and the things that were being said at the national level, that style and tone, we were concerned about that spilling over into local politics. And so we took extra care to try to, in some instances, head that off where we knew there was potential for it. So, in longer term, we're concerned about that kind of tone influencing government at every level. And so we're talking about how can we try to counter that.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you for coming down
Thank
here.
you very much.
Next, Claudia with Chris Clark. Thank you.
Margaret is
Hi,
first,
welcome back.
actually.
Claudia Cruz here at KMVT with
Lisa's second,
the
I'm
election
third, and
results
John
Santa
is
Clara
fourth.
County that just came in at 8 p.m. At least the early voting.
The incumbents are losing.
And I'm here with Chris Clark, who just found out that he's in the top 4.
We're live.
Yeah, we're live. Okay. But you're so excited, kind of, hopefully, because the results are coming in for city council, and you ran again for re-election. So far, we were voting for 4 council members out of 8, I believe.
Out of 8, yeah.
So he's in the top 4, so hopefully he'll stay there, right?
Yeah, hopefully. It looks like there's a pretty distinct kind of top 4 right now. So I think at 8 they post the vote by mail results, so they've already counted, and then more results will come in throughout the evening, obviously. But the initial results look good.
So from the results, we can see that Margaret Abikoga is up in the lead, Lisa Matichak, Chris Clark, and John McAllister, the top 4 right now. So we'll see how that changes during the night. But Chris, if re-elected, what do you hope to redo from that you haven't, something, maybe did you make a mistake in the last 4 years that you hope that you can go back and fix it, or what would you like to do that you haven't done yet?
I mean, I think you learn along the way. So, we put a lot of longer-term plans in place over the last 4 years, and now it's, it's time to implement those. And so there's a lot of implementation work to be done there in terms of, ensuring that we are able to meet our affordable housing goals, that we're able to reduce traffic and congestion, that we're able to put a lot of the longer-term, I think, infrastructure and other improvement plans that we just put in place, actually implementing those. And so, sure, I mean, you learn from your mistakes along the way. I think, if we could go back and do it again, we would have tried to do some other things to address some of the affordable housing issues aside from the subsidized housing that we're building and other things, and some additional tenant protections. But
speaking of housing, let's see how Measure V is doing. Right now,
it's really close.
It's very close. Right now, Measure V is ahead 50.73%. And to the opponents, 49.27%. This is
50-50.
It's pretty much 50-50. I don't know what Nate Silver would have said about that one, but what could you have done different about affordable housing with more time at the City Council?
I think if we could go back and do it again, I think what we would have done is implemented some additional protections early on that we simply didn't have the votes for, and so I think hindsight is 20/20, and I think had we known what we know then. Or what we know now back then, I think it probably would have given us a little bit more political will to do some more things to address things up front and hopefully avoid the charter amendment debate.
Well, I'm looking at Measure W, which was the City Council.
The council initiated
response to Measure V, and right now that's losing 51.97% to 48.3%. So at the moment,
also
very close. Again, these are only the early votes. The
vote by mail tallies.
Vote by mail. So we'll see what happens by maybe 10 o'clock when the county has more time to count the votes from today, because a few of us voted today. So what else can you talk to me about? Like, what kind of things, particular things do you want to see happen in Mountain View if reelected? That you, like, maybe initiatives that you want to bring up that you didn't have a chance to. 4 years gives you the opportunity to start working on things.
It does.
And leave a stamp. Leave your legacy.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning that occurs in the first 2 to 4 years. And so, I happen to have my time as mayor and kind of crammed into that first 4 years. And so, I think given what I know now, I hope to serve more on a lot of the regional bodies that we have, working on Caltrain, regional transit, those sorts of things. And fulfilling kind of the vision of the North Bay Shore Precise Plan, for example, with a lot of changes out there, working on the Wisman area and kind of building out improving the El Camino Real corridor, which is slowly improving, but still needs a lot of work.
So we had Pat Showalter here beforehand, Mayor Showalter, and she's talking about, this is a double-edged sword. We are in such a prosperous area, and we do have issues that we have to deal with because of that prosperity. So North Bay Shore, I think, surprised some people because of the previous council members had voted against housing there. I believe you guys voted for housing there, so now you're working on that precise plan. Any tips of ideas of what it might look like, or like what kind of conversations you're having?
I think we'll know very soon. So we'll have the draft of the plan is out now.
Okay. Where can people find that? Just on the
it's on the city's website. It should be on the front page actually, because a lot of people are really interested in it. And so that draft plan is out, and we'll be doing refining that and doing further study with the hope to actually pass the final version in April or May, and that will open up the opportunity to begin people to submit applications for housing and a lot of the environmental improvements that we put out there. So ripping up a lot of the surface parking lots. And putting those underground, building out more green space, and just generally making it just a much better area instead of a suburban office park.
We're running out of time, but I know that Proposition 64 right now it is winning 57% to 42, and I know the City Council was voting to postpone any decisions.
We did, yeah.
So maybe in the next break or another opportunity, we'll get to talk more about that. But Claudia Cruz, KMVT, election night coverage, come stop by the studio, 1400 Tarabella, but we're going to take it over to a public service announcement. Thank you.
Food for tonight's election coverage is provided by Cucina Vente.
KMVT15 is your community media center. We are here to provide hands-on training, equipment, and resources to you to express your voice over many distribution platforms. Since 1982, KMVT15 has been providing media resources to the community. Yearly, we train over 300 youth through our video camps. Hundreds of scouts come yearly to take tours and learn about media in order to earn their journalism badges. We offer classes in all areas of media, from video to editing, photography, graphics, video chats, and much more. Training can also be done on location. KMVT15 has a community message board that runs daily, providing information to the community about upcoming events. We also provide tools to nonprofits to create dynamic video messaging quickly with an online system. We offer sponsorship opportunities to businesses to support our efforts in creating local and educational programs, from high school and middle school sports to Project Connect, a digital media learning initiative. KMVT15 provides an array of innovative media production services to create compelling media for businesses, nonprofits, and individuals. By hiring our professional staff, you are helping us to support our mission to provide resources and educational opportunities to the community. KMVT15 works with schools to provide digital literacy training for teachers, students, and parents. We provide after-school opportunities like MV Youth Productions, which gives students hands-on digital video and team-building skills. KMVT15 provides coverage of graduations, sports, and local arts. KMVT15 brings you local coverage from government meetings and elections to ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings. KMVT15 is your distribution resource over the air, online, and via streaming. We have a potential viewership of over 400,000 throughout the entire Bay Area via Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T UVerse Channel 99. We also have a strong viewership online, reaching millions on YouTube, and a Roku channel that streams our content and has a potential reach of over 5 million viewers. So when you think of KMVT15, remember we have a full production facility, production truck, and an award-winning staff here to support your needs.
welcome back to KMVT's Election Night coverage. I'm Claudia Cruz.
I'm Sanju Tana.
And we have Craig Colodano here, who is running, but the polls are closed now, Greg, so you're no longer running. How did it feel? How did it feel? I mean, you were on the school district.
I am on the school district board, yes.
Yes.
Still am.
And
that I'm still doing.
And you now, if elected tonight, you would switch gears to city council.
Correct. Yeah.
How did it feel sort of to make this transition from, or why did you want to make this transition?
Well, as far as what did it feel like, I think a lot of people in Mountain View care about schools. Definitely a lot of parents care about the schools, and they also care about Mountain View. So it's not like we should expect people with kids or people that care about the schools to not care about the city. And so I care and love both a lot, and so I've been following city matters for a number of years. So I thought that things are going pretty well on the school district side, and I'd like to see things go a little better on the city side.
So, Greg, with this growing population of Mountain View.
What is the population of Mountain View anyway?
About 75,000.
It says 74,066 on one of the signs. Right. 75? 78.
So with this growing population of
they got to
Mountain
update
View,
the signs.
So with this growing population of Mountain View, how would you vote for, or would you recommend new schools or public schools, or what would you do to improve the education also? Because as you know that California is not, if you compare with other state, California education is not
the best.
The best, right?
Correct. Our county and our school district do a lot better than the state, and our school district does better than a lot of the county. But when I ran 2 years ago, one of my main arguments was that we need to get all of our schools to be excellent, and several of them are excellent, and the rest are kind of on their way, in my opinion. And we had really great growth in student achievement this year with our new superintendent. So a year ago, we hired a new superintendent, Dr. Allende Rudolph, and he brought in a new level of energy and a new attention to kind of the achievement gap and making sure every child succeeds. That I think has been really, really great for the students, and also it's already shown results. So we had a lot of good improvement in our schools just this last time we got results.
Okay.
So if you win the city council, what improvements would you like to make to the city, not the school district, but the city itself?
Yeah. Well, there's so many things that are awesome about Mountain View, but I think that too often we get into a mode of thinking about what we like and what we got to do to make sure that doesn't change. How do we protect this thing we like, instead of thinking about all the different areas that we could improve in. And so, for example, one thing that I think is going well in Mountain View, a lot of people worry about diversity and protecting diversity. And a fact I learned a few weeks ago that I'll share is at one of our schools, Castro, it's in a neighborhood that has a lot of Latino families, a lot of white families, but the 5th grade class, the students in that grade, at home they speak 3 different languages, English, Spanish, and one other language. The kindergarten class at Castro has 11 different home languages. So we don't hear much about this sort of diversity. So there's something going on in Mountain View that's changing it from what it used to be to what it is today and what it's going to be next. And that sounds really interesting to me. I'm sure there's Russian and Mandarin and Vietnamese, other languages are in there, but lots of other people from other parts of the world too. So I think that while we want to protect some things that are important to us, there's other great things that are happening and that we could help happen that we have to think about as well.
Unfortunately, you're not in the top 4 for city council.
I noticed
right
that.
Now.
Yeah, I did notice
Greg, so how long is your term still for as a board of trustee at the Mountain View Wisma School District?
We're elected to 4-year terms.
So you have 2 years.
And I'm 2 years into that. Yeah.
So speaking of this diversity of languages, and how will you help increase the knowledge that people have about our schools, while at the same time or separately bridging the achievement gap? I asked Jose Gutierrez was here earlier. I asked him the same question. We do have very economic disparities in the city that may lead to an achievement gap. How would you help to bridge that so that these students who maybe are speaking 11 languages at Castro don't fall behind and are up to par with the students who may have more help at home?
Well, the first part of your question is, what am I going to do about that? And the answer, well, really, it's our teachers. We have hundreds and hundreds of dedicated teachers, staff at all the different schools, the principals that are helping those teachers do the best they can, and of course, our district office. They're doing all that work. And I think that it starts at the top. And so the superintendent we have, when we were interviewing for superintendents a year and a half ago, one of the questions we would ask all of them was, what experience do you have with raising all students' achievement, with closing achievement gaps, with making sure that students that do not have, like you said, do not have the same sort of supports at home still can succeed. Mm-hmm. And the superintendents that we narrowed the list down to, and the one that we picked, all had a lot of experience with this. Okay, and so this is the sort of thing that on the board, we don't teach, and we're not, well, actually, at Stevenson, I actually have to go into the classroom each week. So on Monday for 4 hours, for 2 hours, I was in my fourth graders class, and for 2 hours I was in my second graders class, helping, right? But I'm taking direction from the teacher and so forth. It's the teachers and the principals and the district staff and other staff that are doing the heavy lifting.
How can the community get involved and help the school
I'd love to see more of that. So there's a lot of different ways that the community is already getting more involved. I'm attending did Jose mention the PK graduation? So 2 days on Thursday night, there's a program that is hosted at Castro that brings a bunch of parents in, and it's kind of like parent education, all the different things related to how to help your student, and what you can do at home to make sure your student succeeds as much as they can. I attended the week I was elected 2 years ago. They had this graduation then, and there were dozens and dozens of parents that came in who were really excited because they now knew a lot more about how to really help their children succeed in a way they didn't know how to do before. Mm-hmm. And so that's the sort of thing that, that's just one example of a program that the district is doing that brings in families, brings in parents, and helps them figure out how to be more involved. But there's many different examples of this, but one of these, for anybody that wants to come, it's Thursday evening at Castro School. It's going to be a graduation for a bunch of the parents that just went through this.
That's great. Thank you, Greg. I think we're running out of time. Sanjeev, I think we'll hold your questions off to the next.
Yeah, I think next.
I'm sorry if I talk too much.
No,
that's
it crowd you
I think
out
next with Jim Connor. He's with Tanya.
Tanya Rashke. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Greg.
All right. Well, we're here with Tanya Rashke, who is running for the Los Altos School Board. It's a 2-year term, and it's been a really rock and roll ride for you, I think. Tell me about how the election process has gone for you, Tanya.
Well, this is my first time running for office, Jim, and it's been really exciting. I've been really inspired and humbled by the outpouring of support from many community members. I've spent a lot of time walking and knocking on doors and talking to a lot of voters, and that was really exciting to hear what's on people's minds. And I have a hopeful outlook for the election and hoping to roll up my sleeves and get some work done for the district.
So you live in Mountain View here. The school district covers areas of Palo Alto, Los Altos Hills, and Mountain View. What kind of led you to say one day, I think I should run for the Los Altos School Board?
I've been involved with the district since my kids started school. They're through the K-8 schools, and they're now both at Los Altos High. Our area of Mountain View has been we've been reassigned to different schools many times over the years, and so I first got involved in 2007 in the last attendance boundary changes. There's been some just long-standing problems about enrollment growth. Mountain View is growing quite a lot, and it's important that we be kind of part of the solution looking forward. In 2014, we passed Measure N, which is a bond measure to address enrollment growth. And I feel really comfortable with my relationships with the Mountain View City Council and other members of the community to really create positive change and plan for the future.
You know, as I drive around town, I see these huge condominium buildings going up all along El Camino near El Monte and down going south. This is going to put quite a bit of pressure on the school system, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think the areas around El Monte are in Mountain View Westman District. The construction that's going to really impact Los Altos School District is what's happening around the San Antonio area. And there are several large projects that were just approved that will impact our district.
In your role as on the school board, do you get involved in curriculum choices, or is that not included in your area of responsibility?
Well, curriculum is evaluated by the staff, but a lot of high-level decisions are made by the school board. There's a lot of different things that the district could implement. There's a ballot measure, for instance, about bilingual education, so for foreign language, art, music, how to handle math. These things go beyond the curriculum and they fall into the scope.
Let me ask you one more question, because you and I have not talked before, spoken. Do you have, or do you represent a particular constituency in the school district area that perhaps wasn't getting heard or listened to before?
So I have a very broad background in the district. My children attended several Los Altos School District schools as well as the charter school, and I'm a resident of Mountain View. And so I think that gives me a very broad experience, and I have very good relationships with constituents in Los Altos and Los Altos Hills, and I really want to kind of bring the broad diversity of our community to the table and district decisions.
Well, Tanya, thank you very much for your time. I wish you every success in your quest to be on the school board, and we look forward to seeing the election results.
Great. Thank you very much, Jim. I'm looking forward to the results myself. Thanks.
Thank you now. All right.
Food for tonight's election coverage is provided by Civility.
Welcome back. I'm Claudia Cruz here at KMVT Studios, election night coverage. I'm here with outgoing council member John Inks. We were talking during the break. He's 8 years serving this community, has 4 meetings left. What will you do with yourself? I know you're a dancer. Are you going will there be more dancing in your future?
Hint, hint. Yes, there's life after politics. Actually, I will probably continue to be engaged in the city on certain issues, but I actually have a lot of retirement hobbies. Ballroom dancing, camping, used to fly a lot. But yes, I will fill the time, but I will still stay connected to the community and continue to live in Mountain View.
What kind of issues in the community do you still want to be involved in? What's important to you enough to, even though you're not in council and taking a break from your retirement, to still make sure it happens?
Well, I would say the same issues that I have been involved with in the 8 years that I've been on council before. And probably I would say the most gratifying part of the job that I have is actually what I call off-council, off-agenda items. And that is when you have a constituent come to you that is trying to, for instance, expand a daycare center into a shopping center, and they have issues with planning staff, and they don't know how to work with staff and so forth. And so to be able to help constituents that have problems with the city and dealing with things like trees and sidewalks and so forth. And, some of the requirements, understanding the zoning ordinance for a lot of people is kind of hard. So actually helping people outside, things that aren't on the council agenda, is probably what I've found most gratifying. And I will probably continue to do that on whenever someone has an issue, they can call on me, and I can, I know where to, go to the city to get some help.
Well, in essence, that's what government does or should do well, is really engage the citizenry to understand how it runs and how their taxpayer dollars are being used every day, especially if you have a decaying tree or you want to open up, like you said, a business and you have regulations you have to manage. That's very noble. So what is exciting about this election? We won't talk about the national election because we're so focused on local politics here, but is there anything that's really struck your fancy about whether it's a city council race, whether it's Measure 64, whether it's Measure V? I mean, now that you're outgoing, you can probably speak your mind on a couple of things. What are you believe.
I have been
freely.
I have been speaking my mind.
Good.
Certainly, rent control is, a very topical, very critical issue. I don't know if have you seen any election returns tonight?
Yes. Right now, Measure V was winning about 50. It was very close, 50 to about 49%.
Okay.
Measure V. So let's pull it up. It was 50 to 49%. But again, these are the mail-in ballots.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the city council's position, W, was being voted down. So it's right now Measure V is winning.
Okay.
But again, this is only 36% of precincts and only the mail-in ballots. We'll see what happens at 10 o'clock when we believe the county will refresh their site. So, what was your position? What were you vocal about Measure V about?
Well, I didn't support. I do not support rent control. I actually, sort of sympathize with a lot of lower income renters that are dealing with the situation in the city right now, where there are just so many technical professionals that make like 130, 140K a year, and who can pay $3,000 or $4,000 a month rent. They probably would prefer not doing that. But on balance, that's where the jobs are. So that means that the lower income is actually competing with, other renters that are actually able to pay higher rent. I don't have a perfect answer for that, but I also believe that I don't think rent control is an answer to that, because ultimately what rent control does, based on most of the economic studies, Foundation for Economic Education, American Economic Association, is that rent control over time is going to diminish the housing supply. It creates disincentives for property owners to invest in properties. And worst of all, over time, it actually shifts the tenant population mix from the lower income to the higher income, like you see in San Francisco.
Then you add Airbnb to that, and you have no more housing stock available. We actually ran out of time, but it goes by so quickly, John. Good luck to you in your next stage. We're going to take this over to Sanjeev Tana, who is speaking with Mountain View Council Member Ken Rosenberg.
There we go. Hello, welcome back. This is Sanjeev Tana here with KMVT15. I'm with Ken Rosenberg. He's a vice mayor at Mountain View City. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell me about what exactly you do as a vice mayor. What are your day-to-day duties? What do you exactly do, so that our viewers can know about your role at Mountain View City?
We have people crawling underneath here. Well, vice mayor is a title. You're a city council member, and you're always a city council member. The tradition of Mountain View is to rotate through vice mayor, and then following that, you're the mayor. The day-to-day activities are really no different from that of any other council member, or the day-to-day operations of the city. We leave to staff. We're there to guide. We're like the board of directors of the city of Mountain View. When you're mayor, you have a little bit more responsibilities. You obviously the foremost. You're running the meetings. You have the gavel, which is important. You also sign proclamations, declarations, things of that nature. And you also are the dignitary representing Mountain View to people from all over the world who come to visit.
Right. So any particular issue for the Mountain View you care about, and you really want to talk about it today? This is the time.
Well, it was on the ballot. Measure V and Measure W.
That's the gun control.
Rent control was on the ballot.
Rent control.
Rent control on two different measures, and at the moment, Measure V is passing by a hair, and Measure W is not. Right. So that's interesting. The city council has voted a few different times not in favor of rent control, and Measure V, as you are probably aware, was a citizen-backed measure, putting it on the ballot, and it's again passing by a hair. So we will see. There's a lot more votes to. There were a lot more votes to come in, so we will see. I'm not a big proponent of rent control. I never voted for it.
Right. So as far as the rent control goes, it could go either way. That's what it looks like, the way it is right now. And we have, one more hour to go. And if it doesn't pass, or let's say if it does pass, what would you do? I mean, because there are many people, they do want rent control in Mountain View.
Well, about 50% of the voters so far.
Exactly. So far, right. So, and let's say so let's say if it does pass rent control, what exactly would you do as a?
Well, we'd honor the will of the voters,
Right.
but Measure V is a charter amendment.
Exactly.
It's our version of a constitutional amendment. So the charter would be significantly changed, adding in a permanent rent control into the law, and a new body would be appointed to oversee how it runs on a daily basis. So a new body that's not city council, appointed by city council, but not city council.
Ken, thank you very much for stopping by at our show. Next, we have Claudia. Yep.
Meeting tomorrow?
Go to election results or something.
Okay.
No bit meeting tomorrow.
Hi, Claudia Cruz here, KMVT's election night coverage. We're still here. We're having a blast. There's food. There's adult libations. We're at 1400 Terabella here in Mountain View. Come join us. And right now joining us is Tom Means, former Mountain View City Council member. And I don't know what he's been up to, so I am going to ask him. Tom, what are you up to?
What am I up to? So, as you know, I was one of the only council members that had a full-time job.
Yeah,
I was a professor of
Economics.
economics at San Jose State. And so starting this fall, I went on early retirement. So teaching part-time every spring semester now, and then we'll eventually bow out. And then my wife is going to retire this year, and so we bought a trailer and a truck, and we've been traveling across California right now and having fun.
That's why you're so tanned.
Yes, and I have a second grandchild on the way, so we're looking forward to that.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I just got into the whole tiny house movement thing, and I want to build myself a tiny little compact.
Well, you should come see our trailer. It's
and
tiny.
Like, move around
Right.
in it. What's been exciting for you about the local elections? Now I won't talk about
Okay,
national.
so the local elections were exciting because I think we had probably 7 or 8 strong candidates, some pretty strong candidates.
For city council.
For city council. I would say, 2 incumbents, then we had another person coming back, Margaret Abercrombie, and then Lisa Matichek running for a second time, and then the rest were all first-timers, except Greg had run before, I think. So pretty strong field. So I think the council will still be strong no matter who wins. I think it's going to look very good. I'm more concerned about the rent control measures. You know, I'm an economist, and economists don't like rent controls. So I'm concerned about one of those passing.
Well, right now, the Measure V is ahead
But
by
it's
a slight
close.
margin,
It's very close.
And we haven't counted today's votes yet.
Yeah.
Tom, what do you think about Proposition 64? Are you a smoker?
Which one is that again? I don't remember the numbers.
Are you a smoker?
Was that the marijuana one? Or the tax one?
Yeah.
Or the tax one?
As an economist, what do you think about how marijuana could, the millions of dollars it could bring
So,
to
we passed, when I was on council, we dealt with medical marijuana, and it was a real hassle trying to figure out what to do. I was, and John Inks, and I think Mike Kasperzak were the only 3 council members that kind of supported an open market approach and saying, let's see what happens, and let's let the market decide what's going to happen. But the rest of the council, they want to overregulate everything and control everything. And you see that now with the current council. They're already banning, plants in your backyard or something like that. So I would like to just see people do what they want in their yards and then see what happens in the marketplace.
I knew I asked the right person.
Okay, right. You'll get a counter opinion from some other council members.
The economist. Yeah, right now 64 is up 57%.
Okay. Now, what about the tax on cigarettes?
Yeah, I think that one's gone up.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think almost all of them are going to pass.
English language, let's scroll. I forgot. Yeah, there's so many numbers.
Even the one on let's continue the temporary tax, I think, is going to continue to pass. There you go, right there. Okay.
No, this was the marijuana. Carry the bags, death penalty. It's somewhere in here.
Okay.
Cigarettes.
The cigarettes, like early one, I think.
Okay, so.
But I don't
state
care about
fees.
those so much.
So what about the local? We talked about Measure V. Are you for bonds like?
Oh, those. Okay, so here's my feeling on
VTA bonds.
There was the housing impact fee, which in some sense. The housing issue is a regional issue, and everyone should pay for it. The problem is individual cities have their own different fee structure on new development. So I think if cities got rid of their fees on housing and then say, let's just have a general tax on parcels, I would support that because everyone should help pay for subsidized housing, not just new development and new home buyers. And I've done research on that and published papers and so forth. In fact, that's one of the things my research turned into for school was I started writing about local government issues now, and so I'm doing really good on that.
So what are you teaching in the spring? What is your part-time course now?
Okay, so
you're still at San Jose State.
Teach economics. So I've always taught statistics, and I teach econometrics. So I teach kind of math, statistics, parts of economics and stuff, and I like doing that.
So what would you have told Nate Silver or the pollsters about the national election? Let's take a brief moment.
Look, I think this is an election where the polling, it was still close within margins of error, so the plus or minus, still means it's a toss-up. But I think what happened is, I think this is similar to when, I don't know if you remember, you're very young, but when Bill Bradley ran for governor, he was way ahead in the polls and then lost, and people said, how could the polls be off so far? I think people just didn't want to admit they were voting against Bill Bradley, and I think people don't want to admit they're voting for Trump. And so I think some of the polling reflects the fact that a lot of people, you ask them, are you going to vote for that sexist pig, Trump? And then it's like, no, of course not. And then, of course, they do. So that was my
with the faulty polling aside, we're going to kick it over to John, who's with Sunnyvale City Council member Nancy Smith.
Hi, this is John Helmholtz at the Elks Lodge in Sunnyvale with City Council candidate member number 6 for the City Council member seat number 6 for Sunnyvale, Nancy Smith. Nancy, how you doing?
I'm great. The polls have closed, and we're waiting to hear what the results are.
So can you tell me how's the election been so far for you?
It's been a long election. I pulled papers back in December of last year, so I've been working really hard the last year to make connections with voters and to meet them and find out what their concerns are.
So I'm to understand that you've worked for some time with NVIDIA Corp. How have you taken some of your past experiences and now aimed them towards City Council?
Yeah, well, as it turns out, what I do day to day is, first I started as a writer, so I communicate really well. It's really important to me to communicate well, and I think the city could really use some help with improving communications and getting more engagement from the community. And lately I've been managing budgets for NVIDIA. So as you know, there's always competing priorities for the money, and so that's what I do day in and day out, and I can take those skills right to City Council and help the city pick the priorities of what people care about.
Absolutely. So for you, when it comes to for issues for the city, where would you like to focus your attention primarily?
Well, we've got a big problem with the climate change. I just recently watched the Leonardo DiCaprio movie Before the Flood, and Sunnyvale is reviewing its climate action plan, and we need to decide as a city whether we're going to keep it as it is, which doesn't meet the goals set by the governor, or if we can do something more aggressive and reduce the carbon emissions even further than what the governor said. So that's kind of the approach that I'd like to look for, and that's one of the first things I'd like to do. And also bring more voices to City Council. I ran on a platform that we need more voices on City Council. We need more diversity and just more people in general on boards and commissions and who are comfortable speaking in front of the council.
Absolutely, absolutely. Diversity is key. Any closing thoughts for the election for the time being?
Well, I'd like to thank the voters for being so diligent and for my supporters for coming out and really supporting me. And Sunnyvale's a great place to live, and I'm looking forward to serving the city as we change and grow.
Great. Thank you so much, Nancy Smith. Nancy Smith for City Council, Sunnyvale, candidate seat number 6. Back to you at KMVT.
You're welcome back.
Welcome back. I'm Claudia Cruz here with Ken Rosenberg, current Mountain View City Council member and the next mayor.
Vice mayor presently, yeah.
Vice mayor presently. You know, this mayoralship thing, it was very confusing for me because you guys get appointed.
Would you like me to explain it?
No, I think we probably could skip over that. But congratulations on your appointment. Everybody gets an award. So there are.
It's quite an honor to be vice mayor and or mayor.
But everybody gets to do it. No?
It is possible that you cannot do it. The council votes, and if they want to skip over you, they can.
Yeah, but they are very nice. Everybody likes each other and usually allows you to.
Mountain View is blessed to have a very collegiate and congenial body that get along. We don't always agree, but we have a rule that we let the decisions stay and we move on. So we work together very well.
That's what Mayor Showalter said earlier. So that's a good thing for us, the residents of Mountain View. So we had 8 candidates, 8 strong candidates for City Council this year.
Yeah.
Right now, the top 4 continue to be because the county has not yet refreshed. Actually, maybe they've refreshed their election results. But Margaret Abicoga, Lisa Matichak, Chris Clark, and John McAllister continue to be the 4 front runners. 2 you mentioned are incumbents. Mm-hmm. Actually, 3. Because McAllister's an incumbent as well, isn't he?
Well, Margaret Abicoga
but will be coming back.
Almost could be considered an incumbent. She took a 2-year hiatus. In the first voting dump, she is on top, so that says a lot about her popularity in the city.
Anything that you'd like to work on? I mean, now that you see some of the names of people who are coming back, and you can start thinking about either continuing certain projects or planning new ones. Anything you want to work on that you haven't done yet, or that you want to make sure gets done with this new council? Or also, maybe a new council. It's pretty much the same council as before, like you said.
Yeah, well, we're going to have 5 of the same 7 that we had before, and it'll be interesting. We're going to start off the year with a goal-setting exercise, and we're going to see what that leads. So the answers to your question will lie in the goal setting exercise that we go through. So we'll want to hear from everybody.
So you have 2 years left.
I have 2 years on my term left, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it works the same in the local level as it does maybe, or Pacific Mountain View as it does in like Pacific New York City. Is there like a legacy that you want to leave? Is there a particular project that you'd like to see happen, whether it's an open space, whether it's a new park somewhere, or that you want to make sure that when that little plaque goes up, has your name on it?
Well, I think there's certain things that you can feel very proud on that you had a chance to vote on. For one vote in particular that stands out for me, for example, was raising Mountain View's minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2018. I was very proud to make that vote. So to the extent I get known for that in the future, yeah, I'd be proud to stand behind that vote.
And Mountain View, I mean, regionally now, other cities are also raising their minimum wage.
Right. So Mountain View took a leadership position in that, and other cities followed. And another example of being a progressive city that others look to for leadership.
You know, we have other very interesting measures in Mountain View. Also, well, we won't talk about VTA, even just funding for VTA. Any positions on that? I think it looks like it's going to pass.
Oh, I hadn't even heard. So you're talking about Measure B?
Measure B, yes.
I'm a proponent of Measure B. I'm glad to hear that it's passing so far. The changes that the money will go towards are needed and necessary. I think everybody who's driven in the Bay Area recognizes that we have a problem, and Measure B is there to help.
Mountain View as a hub, as a transit hub, is
right.
Particularly impacted.
Well, one of the things that we need to make sure that the residents of Mountain View are aware of is that we petitioned in advance of the measure being put on the ballot that Mountain View and Palo Alto, the North County cities, have priority over some of the projects. For example, the Rainstorf railroad crossing on Central Expressway. We're going to make that be a non-at-grade crossing, either an overpass or an underpass, and Measure B is going to help fund it. So it's essential to Mountain View that something like that passes.
Yeah, it's worse to be stuck on that on that crossing for 15 minutes. Well, we're wrapping up. Thanks for joining us again. We're going to take it over to John with Rod Sinks. Thank you.
Hello again, this is John Helmholtz with KMVT. I am in Cupertino in the lovely household of one Rod Sinks. How are you doing, Mr. Sinks?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you very much.
So I am to understand that you are running for City Council of Cupertino this election.
I've been running for the last 3 months and hard.
So I'm to understand that you served in 2015 as the mayor of Cupertino, and now you're running for as council member.
That's correct. The citizens here don't elect the mayor directly. That's what the council does, and we rotate every year. But I first ran in 2011, and I was fortunate that the residents had confidence in me and elected me. And now I have an opportunity to serve one more term.
That's great. So I know that since you said you had served in 2011 and that you were mayor in 2015, what are some probably some issues or some programs that you oversaw, especially as mayor, that you like to think that you would like to continue overseeing if you were to be elected to the council?
Well, that's a great question. We have worked very hard to improve safe biking here in Cupertino. We put down miles of green paint in my year as mayor. We were recognized by the federal government for our bikeways. We put down some protected bikeways, so our residents really appreciate that. I've also been working regionally on trying to improve transportation. So in 2015, I got all the mayors together up and down the 85 corridor on up to Palo Alto to negotiate our fair share of countywide monies that get used for transportation here. So we're proud of the result we got. We think we got a fair deal, and I'm looking forward to seeing Measure B pass this evening.
So what is it like being the mayor of Cupertino in 2015 and now running as council member? How is that different for you?
Well, we only run for council here. Again, it's the 5 city council members that determine who the vice mayor and mayor are going to be. So we rotate. We take our turn. And another big thing that I'd like to continue is our thrust to do green energy. Next year, Silicon Valley Clean Energy, a startup that we've created in the public sector, will be providing residents in 11 cities and the unincorporated county with carbon-free electricity for a little less money than PG&E. So I helped found that, and I'm very proud to be able to continue that work should I be reelected tonight.
That's great. Any closing thoughts on the election?
Well, I'm at this time excited to see that Rokana is doing very well. I'm concerned about the very top of the ticket, quite frankly. I think the party is anticipating a Hillary Clinton victory, and so far the results have yet to be determined. So.
Well, thank you so much for allowing us into your home. Best of luck to you. This has been John Helmholtz with Rod Sinks. Back to you at KMVT.
And who's in the lead?
Yeah, so hi, Claudia Cruz with here at KMVT stations and enjoying the election night shindig that we have going here. I am going to give you guys a little bit an update on the city council races. We focus so much on Mountain View. I'm going to switch it over to another city that is dear to our hearts, which is also Cupertino. Right now, Rod Sinks, whose interview you just saw, is up ahead in the polls, 22%. Chris Wang is up next with almost 16%, and Stephen Scharf is also about he's at 15% or so, 15.39%. So that's very, very close. I was on my way to open up Sunnyvale. Thanks to Sunnyvale for joining us this year as a member of the KMVT coverage. Right now, Larry Klein is up ahead, 50% of the vote. That's very decisive. So people definitely like you out there, Larry. Keep it up. John Cordes, who I know we also had an interview with earlier, he's at 32.72%. But I think they're only voting for one, so Larry seems to be the one who is going to pull ahead. And we're going to, while I look this up, give me 1 second. I'm going to look up Los Altos, because I know they have a city council race that we care about. The top three right now in Los Altos City Council is Jan Pepper with 24% of the vote, Jeannie Bruins with 18.62%, and Lynette Lee Eng, with 17.19%. So again, that added with Mountain View, Magria Vicoga, Lisa Medichak, Chris Clark, and John McAllister seem to be the new slate of city council members that will join, will help govern these four cities that KMVT covers. Let's look quickly at school district. Look at Mountain View Wisdom School District, Tamara Wilson, who I believe we had an off-site interview with a little earlier. She's at almost 27% of the vote, tied with Laura Blakely. 3 members will get voted in, and the third, Jose Gutierrez, who joined me here at the dais, he's at 25.47%. So again, Mountain View will be, looks like Tamara Wilson, Laura Blakely, Jose Gutierrez. But all of these are still subject to change, considering that we're only looking at the initial mail-in ballots here in the county, Santa Clara County. Let's look at Los Altos School District, because they had Altos School District. Los Altos School District, Tanya Rashke, who we spoke to earlier, still pretty close vote. Tanya Rashke is at 50% of the vote to Brian Johnson at 49%. So again, that one will probably not be called. I'm not calling this race. And it's still very important, I'm sure, race. Tanya is an incumbent. Brian's trying to win her out. I know there is a measure that affected Los Altos, Measure GG. Let's look at that. It's a parcel tax, because to try to, it's a school bond measure to try to help the school district. More likely than not, that money will probably be used to build another school. I know there was some talks about building a school on this side of El Camino to house some of the Mountain View students. We'll see, and also to help alleviate some of the issues with Bullis Charter School and their overcrowding at the moment. That school measure seems to be happening, seem to have passed with 70% of the vote. So even if the votes are updated, it seems as it's pretty hard to narrow that gap between 70%. If you hadn't been following the state elections, I know Kamala Harris won the state Senate seat the state Senate seat, the U.S. Senate seat. So she will represent California at the national level. Let's see what else people might be interested in. Again, it's still too close to call with Measure V in Mountain View, which is the charter amendment for to put rent control into the city council charter. And the response by the city council continues to lose. And the city council's response was to not put it in the charter, but to have a different avenue, a different way to try to arrive at a more affordable housing benefits for the city. Let's see what else we'll flip through here. Measure C in Cupertino. Cupertino is sensible growth. I think this is happening in a couple places, including Sunnyvale. Is how do you develop housing, mixed-use property, and try to balance that out with the amount of people, or with the congestion in the offices that are being built in the community. Right now, Measure C is losing in Cupertino with 60% of the vote to 40%. And let's see, I'm not sure what the Sunnyvale one, I can't find it right now, but I will check the national election. Right now, it looks like Republican nominee Donald Trump is ahead in the Electoral College, 238 votes to Hillary Clinton's 208. I believe they're still counting some states are still too close to be called, but that magic number is 270. And I'm pretty sure that by 10 o'clock, keep looking over there, we have a television, by 10 o'clock, CNN, AP, Reuters, someone will see what the local races look like at the state level. But it's been exciting. It's definitely the end of, at least at the presidential level, 16 months of electioneering, and now at the local level, a few months. No more signs on your yard. No more papers delivered in your mailbox, so you don't have to go and worry about ripping them up. We will have new representation at the school district level, new representation at city council, new representation at state. Let's look what's happening at state senate. Jerry Hill decisively ahead, 77% to 22%. His opponent, Rick Ciardella. Let's look at assembly for District 24. Mark Berman, still pretty close. Mark Berman up 53.56% with Vicky Vinker, who has a 46.44%. Again, these are still early numbers. That looks like it could be a runaway race, but 7 percentage points with only 24 out of 184 precincts reporting. I prefer to be safe and not call that race yet. So we'll see. Good luck to both candidates. I know another race in this area that we were looking at was Board of Trustees for County Board of Education. Trustee Area 1 here, which is Los Altos, Mountain View, and possibly Sunnyvale. She's at 65% to 34%. Again, a decisive win for Miss Ma. Foothill-De Anza Community College District. They were electing new board members, and Laura Casas, who is an incumbent, up ahead. They were electing 3 out of a slate of 6, I believe. And Laura Casas is up at 22, almost 23%. Peter Landsberger, he's at 20.5%. And Gilbert Wong, who's at 19.22%. We'll see what happens. Again, we spoke with Patrick Ahrens a little earlier. Anybody who talks to KMVT, we're big fans of, because local community access TV, we encourage people to collaborate with us as well. So we'll see how he does, and wish, again, all of the candidates good luck. Let's see. Let's go to some of the state measures. So I believe Proposition 51 would have given the states the opportunity to levy school bonds. I believe it's $950 million for schools, and that's passing again decisively, 54.55.45. State fees on hospitals, Proposition 52, that's winning 73% to almost 27. Let's see which other that are not as convoluted. Cigarette tax. We're speaking to Tom Means earlier about the cigarette tax. People have voted to effectively increase cigarettes by another $2. So that measure, that proposition is passing by 73% to 27 against another $2 on top of the already existing cigarette tax. We'll see. Hopefully, that will continue to decrease the population that continues to smoke. Criminal sentences. That one, and I believe that one was to forgive nonviolent felons or not give them felony sentences. Something related to that. I apologize if I don't remember. I had to memorize and vote for it on 17 propositions. Right now, I forget some of the details. But that one's winning 72% to 28. English language education. That one was one that I was interested in as well, because that one was to try to overturn Proposition 227 from 1998, I believe. And that one seems to be winning in order to overturn the proposition. So 58 would overturn 227, and that one's winning 75% to 24%, or 76% to 24%. The adult films, that was an interesting one too, to try to definitely require that people who engage in adult filmmaking, i.e. pornography, would be required to wear condoms. That one already required to wear condoms. What the people should be voting for is enforcement. So right now, Proposition 60 to require the use of condoms, I guess it's losing. So again, 53% to 47. Death penalty. This one was interesting too. This one was to try to, instead of giving people, to pretty much overturn the death penalty in California and give people life sentences instead. And California is voting to repeal its death penalty, 54% to 46. As some proponents of getting rid of the death penalty, they would argue that it actually costs more to try and argue death penalty case than it would to keep someone in jail. So that they will probably, all their efforts have been paying off. But again, it's still only 227 precincts reporting. The firearms ammunition. I believe it was to try to limit the sale of ammunitions to people who are on a registry, and that one's actually also being approved, or has been voted for, in favor of, at a rate of 76% to 24. Marijuana has been right now. It's the marijuana in California is being it's winning at 58% to wrap this up and send it over to our next interview. Thank you.
Welcome back. This is Sanjeev Tana with KMVT. I'm with Alan Wheeler, Mountain View President of Mountain View Visman School Board. Yes. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
So, Ellen, I want to talk about those 4 candidates who are running for the board.
Yes.
You want to give us a brief introduction about them and what they are running for?
Yeah, the nice thing about this election night is that I was going in with a royal flush, because any of these 4 candidates would be terrific on the board. So we have 3 seats and 4 people running. So it looks like we probably have a top 3 at this point of the evening. And all 3 of them will be terrific, including our appointed incumbent, Jose Gutierrez. and we've got 2 school board members who are going off. They decided not to run. One of them is Bill Lambert, who everyone said was an excellent, and Tamara Wilson and Laura Blakely likely to replace, and both of those people will be excellent additions to the board.
So I want to talk more about Measure A and Measure B.
Right.
Can you tell us what exactly those measures are, and in your opinion, where do you stand for Measure A or Measure B? Where exactly, what is your position as far as Measure A and Measure B goes?
Okay, well, thank you for the question. So now I'm going to take off my school board hat and put on my League of Women Voters hat, and I will tell you that League of Women Voters of Santa Clara County endorsed both Measure A and B. The important thing to understand about both of these measures, they're county-wide measures, is they both need 2/3 of the vote to pass, which is a very high bar. It's very difficult to get 2/3 of the vote. So when I left home tonight, Measure B, which is the transportation measure, was passing, and Measure A had not yet achieved 2/3. Now, Measure A is a bond measure for low-income housing in Santa Clara County. So, I and, thousands of others around the county will be watching both of those, those results.
Okay. So talking about affordable housings,
Yeah.
What exactly our current state, what are the issues, main issues are? I mean, other than people, there are some people, they cannot afford the housings, but what exactly the hardcore issues are, and what are the solutions? I mean, do you have any particular solutions you want to talk about?
Well, one of the things I'll say is it's a regional issue, so that's a reason why we were approaching it regionally, by the county. Working people have a very difficult time finding affordable housing in Santa Clara County. We we can bring it back into the city of Mountain View. We have a measure, I don't know how it's doing at this point in time, but we have a Measure V, which was hoping to address that. It's
talking about rent control?
Rent control or rent stabilization in the city of Mountain View. Affordable housing in Mountain View, and Measure A was for the county. So Measure A was to try to build some low-income housing for people in Santa Clara County, and then they were going to tier it up too, so that it wasn't just lowest income housing, it was housing for other people who are having a difficult time affording someplace to live in Santa Clara County. And I'll tell you, from a school board perspective, this is an issue for us because we're trying to attract and retain high-quality teachers, and teachers all over the region are having a hard time finding affordable housing.
Ellen, I want to thank you for stopping by to our studio.
Yes, thank you for asking me.
Next, we'll go to election results with Claudia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Claudia Cruz at KMVT's election party. I'm still smiling. Sanjeev, are you still smiling?
And I am Sanjeev Tana. Yes, what a election, right? What kind of results we are looking at right now? So many unexpected.
We are live.
That's our
Hey, that's what happens when you're live. We have 42% of the precincts, the ballot counting progress here in Santa Clara County, and it's been an exciting night.
Yes,
We had a couple of council members, current and former, stop by. I know that Sanjeev spoke to Theta Corns earlier, but right now with 34 of the 36 precincts in Mountain View, we just had a quick surprise. It's not a huge one, doesn't change the top four. Lisa Matichak jumped ahead of Margaret Abikoga by about 70 points. Not too much. It's still pretty close, literally like 0.17%. So congrats to the top, the top four. Lisa Matichak, Margaret Abikoga, Chris Clark, and John McAllister. Three who are incumbents and are returning. Margaret Abikoga, who was a previous council member, is now also returning. And, congrats to the 31 out of 33 precincts reporting in Mountain View, the top three.
Tamara Wilsons, Laura Blackley, and Jose
Gutierrez. Yes. Tamara Wilson, Laura Blakely, and Jose Gutierrez, who joined me here earlier. They were Jose was re-elected, and then Tamara and Laura Blakely jumped ahead of Peter Dara. But I know Peter probably did a fantastic job in the district. But we were at Hyde House, where they were all partying, and it's a camaraderie. They have a fantastic slate of future boards of trustee members at the Mountain View Wisman School District. So if we're ready to roll and get over to Tide House, we will send it over to Tide House, where the election night party for Mountain View Wisman School District was taking place. Take it away.
Hi, this is John Helmholtz once again down at Tide House in downtown Mountain View with some of the members who are running for the Mountain View Wisman School District Board. Can you guys introduce yourselves to the camera?
I'm Peter Dara. Jose Gutierrez Jr.
Laura Blakely. And I'm Margaret Abikoga running for City Council.
So can you guys tell me how's the election been so far?
Fine. Locally.
What has this running been for you guys so far? I mean, you guys are kind of in league with one another. You kind of helping each other out, like a powwow. How's that been?
It's been fun. We have a big city, and so there's a lot to cover, and it definitely helps to have a team to work together on this. And I ran for city council. I ran with our school board candidates, and it's important to have our schools and our city working together. And so I'm just really honored and pleased to have had this opportunity to work with the three of them.
So I'm to understand, Laura, that you've been a resident since 1992, correct? What is it like now running for the school board? What do you think you're going to bring to the table?
I'm hoping to bring unity among the different neighborhoods of the district. The school board, some of the school board meetings have been a little contentious, and so I'm hoping that we can bond on a positive note and be constructive and collaborative and work together with the teachers and the parents and the different parts of the community.
So, Mr. Jose, I'm to understand you have two daughters, one in 6th grade and 3rd grade. Yes, and what is it like being a parent now involved potentially with the school board?
Well, I've been on it for about a year and a half so far, right, or a little over a year. I took over trustee Chang's position when there was an appointment process once he resigned. It's been a learning experience, it's been positive, but I'm looking forward to a new challenge. With the new board comes new dynamics and a new team mentality. And I think this group here exemplifies what you can do together as a team. And I think if we can do this well with one another here, we can do even better things as a community for the city of Mountain View because we deserve that.
So, Peter, I'm to understand that you've been coaching a little bit of softball every now and then, correct? What is it like being a civil servant now, as you said, going for an actual position with the school board?
Well, actually, I attempted to run, but I've obviously lost now, so I'm not going to be on the school board. But really, I joined the race to restore, as a part of the effort to restore decorum to the school board, and that has really happened. I congratulate Tamara and Laura and Jose. They'll be a fantastic school board, and we look forward to working with them going forward.
Absolutely. Great. Any closing thoughts on the elections from any of you guys? One of you guys want to raise your hand? We'll take one of you. Sure.
Look, I'm excited for Margaret, right? Margaret's been on the council before, and she's going to get back at it again. I like her vision. I like the way the city of Mountain View is heading to a good direction, and I think that when you work together with like we have here, you can do so many things. So I'm looking forward to the next 4 years.
I have 2 daughters of my own, and so education's been a cornerstone for me, and I'm excited for this new board. I think it's going to be a whole new direction, and we have some big issues, but I know that we can resolve them with this team. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you, guys. So a lot of teamwork down here at Tide House in downtown Mountain View. Back to you guys at KMVT.
Welcome back. I'm Sanjeev Tana, and we're going to talk, before we talk about Sunnyvale, we want to talk about this Government of Canada's immigration website. It just crashed on as the U.S. election were rolling on. So, Claudia, what do you think about it?
I think a lot of Americans are a little nervous and want to move to Canada, but they said they'll take us. So, take them. I'm not sure if I'm moving yet. But so we'll see what happens, how many people actually follow through with their plans to move to Canada. But, you know, we do have local elections going on, and Sunnyvale, they elected a new city council member, or I'm not sure if he's an incumbent, I apologize, Larry Klein. But Larry Klein is now a city council member at Sunnyvale with 48% of the vote, 49% of the vote. Unfortunately, John Cordes, who we interviewed earlier here, lost in that race because they're only choosing one, even though there were 4 people running. Let's see. Oh, this is a little confusing, Sunnyvale. What are all these little votes? Okay. Not sure how this works in Sunnyvale, but Sunnyvale, at least right now, it's a little different than Mountain View. Sunnyvale, Larry Klein. Then we have Sunnyvale City Council, another thing here in the county website for Russ Melton, who won 62% of the vote. Then we had.
I think Sunnyvale, they go by seat, so that seat
Oh,
1,
so
2, 3.
oh, so they have wards.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is for example, is seat 6. You have Jim Davis and Nancy Smith, and then Nancy Smith, and she's winning by 64.9%, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
I think they have a little bit different setup.
My apologies. I should have lived in Sunnyvale. But I live in Mountain View, where we have at-large candidates. But Sunnyvale, yes, if they have city council members who are voted by district or by wards, as they're called in different cities, that would make complete sense. Thanks for clarifying that. And then Tara Martin Milius, that's a very tight one, but it seems that she might still win with 58 out of 61 precincts reporting. She has almost 47% of the vote to Michael Goldman's 46. So, you know, 1,000 votes, 300 votes here and there could really turn that race around. So yeah, no, it's an exciting night overall for many people who put in countless hours of canvassing and phone calls and fundraising to try to participate in this process and help bring a better outcome for their communities.
Yeah. I agree.
Sanjeev, you have a TV show here on KMVT, and you say you're interviewing the mayor of Milpitas soon?
So next week I'll be interviewing mayor of Milpitas, and we'll be talking about all the conjunctions, all the constructions, or I would say infrastructures. We'll be talking about traffic jam. We have it at 237 and 880. And we'll be talking about this disgusting smell. We get it from Milpitas and San Jose border. So yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. We'll be broadcasting that show maybe in December or January. But yeah, I'll be talking with Mayor of Milpitas next week.
What's the name of your show?
My TV show is ST World Affair, which is Sanjeev Tana World Affairs, and we just started that show. So this show mainly talks about social issues. We talk about entrepreneurship also, but mainly our focus is about politics and our social issues. So.
And that's what the elections are about. You know, some people may not want to cover social issues at the elections. They say, social issues are not things that the government should be taking care of. That's personal, and we should separate government from that. But when you have issues of infrastructure, of congestion, of lack of housing,
Right.
it affects all of us. No,
It does, and this is one of the reasons I chose to talk about this. The issues what we face on day-to-day life. I mean, we can talk about politics during the election years. That's fine. The election will come and go. But then one of the show we are talking about is domestic violence. So I have invited at nextdoor.org a couple of directors. They'll be in our show next week, and we'll be talking about what are the things how we can, what are the major issues behind domestic violence, and how do we resolve that? Or I won't say how do we resolve that, but how do we reduce the amount of domestic violence within Bay Area?
and some of that actually has to do, again, with the funding that might go towards police resources, to mental health situations, to mandatory reporting, because sometimes domestic violence isn't always husband, wife. It could be roommates. It could be
partners.
It could be parents and children. So all these things can come about.
Right.
But again, if we have the elected officials that we choose there to represent us, hopefully some of these issues that are dire and devastating could be fixed.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you look at it, all this traffic congestion, it adds on stressful. I mean, if you have to go all the way to if you have to drive 1 hour, 2 hours just to get to one point to another point. So all these things are adding up on top of this affordable housing. Also, we're going to talk about it also with the city of Milpitas, what they are doing with that. So yeah, I mean, this is all adds up. It's not only this, the election does affect the common man. So that's what we're going to talk about.
We actually have another interview, Jim, with Sunnyvale Council Member Russ Melton, who's up ahead in the polls, 62% to 38%. Take it away, Jim.
Welcome. We're here with Russ Melton, who's been successfully elected to a term at the Sunnyvale City Council. Congratulations, Russ.
Hey, thanks very much, Jim. Really appreciate it.
Now, this is your first term as a city councilman. Do you have a particular mandate or direction you want to go in from a political point of view?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, as I've been out talking to members of our community, I've told them my top 3 priorities. It's going to be housing, traffic, and completing our downtown and recognizing the vision that we can achieve.
Yeah. This downtown has gone through a tremendous transformation. Is it going to continue?
I think so. I think that some important changes have been made. It's out of litigation, it's out of bankruptcy, and we're going to start to move forward. And we've got a great development team that I really think is going to carry it forward for us. Yeah.
So now you came from the high-tech industry. You've been involved in that for years. Are you believing that there should be more high-tech development here, or there's been some political moves to restrict that? Do you have a perspective on that?
Yeah, I think it all starts with housing. So we're in a bit of a housing crunch right now, Jim, and we need to think about housing near where people work and near mass transit corridors. And I think that's a real big part of the solution.
Yeah, I do hear that the Caltrain budget has been approved. At least we've heard that.
And we need to also think about electrification on Caltrain.
Agreed. So I want to ask you personally, what happened in your life? What was the inflection point where you woke up and said, I think I want to become involved in government after spending years in high-tech finance?
You know, that's exactly what you just said. Is I woke up one morning in 2011 and said to myself, I want to be involved in public service, and I've done everything that I want to do in the corporate world. So I tell folks I'm living the dream. I'm a planning commissioner today for the city of Sunnyvale, and so grateful to the voters of Sunnyvale who've elected me to city council.
Do you have any particular goals for the next 12 months, we'll say?
Well, you know, it's just to get in and establish some positive relationships throughout the community, but also with city staff and with my fellow council members. And I think I'm really looking forward to accomplishing some great things.
That's great. Anything else you'd like to add as a message to your new voters?
Well, I wanted to say thanks to everybody who voted for me, but also to say thanks for everybody who supported me, Jim, in my campaign for city council. It was a great bit of teamwork and really pulling everything together.
You know, Russ, it's great to see a guy with your success and track record joining municipal or city politics. So congratulations also. I wish you every success going forward.
Great. Thank you so
All
much.
right. This is Jim Connor, KMVT Television. Thank you.
It was at KMVT Studios here in Mountain View. We've had a very exciting evening. Almost every candidate from Mountain View to Sunnyvale to hopefully Los Altos and Cupertino has either been interviewed or has stopped by our studios. And right now we have a special treat. We're with the mayor of Sunnyvale, Glenn Hendricks, and Russ Melton, who you just heard of. And I know our colleague Jim has been speaking with them. So we're going to take it over to Jim to give you this exclusive interview.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold on.
Russ, I just want to say congratulations. I hear they just called the election for you. We're happy to have you on to the council, and we look for great things over the next 4 years.
Great.
Great job.
Thanks very much, Glenn.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, very well done, Glenn. I think I might have my replacement here. So, Glenn, you're the mayor of Sunnyvale, I believe, and are you a midterm now? You've got a few more years to go.
I'm currently midterm. Yeah, I'm up for re-election 2018.
Okay. So, what do you think about tonight? Do you know the results of the election?
I haven't seen the final results on things, but I've seen the preliminary results for the council and some of the local measures.
Are you happy with the direction of the outcome of the election?
I'm really happy with it. It looks like Measure B has won for our transit infrastructure. Looks like Measure M is being defeated, and I think that's going to be a positive thing for the city. I think Measure N, which is for our user utility tax to help with some of our finances, is a good measure. And then there's also a local school measure, Measure BB, and I think that's winning as well, which is going to be a really good thing for our schools.
Mm-hmm. What led you to get involved in politics? It sounds like you've got a professional background.
I do have a professional, I'm a computer electronics person by trade. I have a similar background to what you just heard from Russ, of where I was on the planning commission and decided that thought I could make a big difference here on the city council. Was elected in 2013 and then became the mayor in January of 2016.
Wow, that's very impressive record to come from pure industry, work within the planning council, and then get elected and become mayor.
Right. I first spent about 3.5 years on the city's personnel board, and then I spent 3.5 years on the city's planning commission, and then I moved up to the city council.
I really want to ask you a question. It's been gnawing at me a little bit, and it goes like this. We have all these wonderful towns, Sunnyvale, Cupertino, Mountain View, Los Altos. How do we get a regional consensus to do the bigger projects?
I think you see that starting to happen. When I became mayor in January, 2 months after that, for the first time ever, we had an all mayors meeting in the county here, where we got all the mayors together to try and talk about different issues. The real issues in the county are transit and housing. And it's going to take a regional approach. Each of the cities needs to step up and do its part, but we need to have a regional look at how we're going to go ahead and address them.
Does every city or each city have to approve the measure, not unanimously, but each city has to approve, make it go forward?
Well, for Measure M was a countywide thing. What you kind of get into is the cities don't really want to give up local control. They want to be able to have a level of understanding and decision making about what goes on in their city. But we have to find a way to work together, because we understand that what happens in Sunnyvale has impact in Mountain View and vice versa. And like I said, transit and housing is a regional challenge, and one city or two cities is not going to solve it. We have to solve it together.
Well, Glenn, thanks so much for your time and your insights, and congratulations again to our friend there, and I wish you every success going forward.
Okay, yeah, have a good day.
Okay.
See you.
Hi, I'm Claudia. Welcome back to me here at the KMVT studios. If you haven't stopped by, we're almost done, but we still have some food and some libations that you can join us and celebrate our constitutional Republican democracy. I believe we have some tape. I'm not sure who we're rolling it to, but I will make sure that you see it now.
Okay. Hi, this is Jim Connor with KMVT TV, Mountain View. I'm here with Tara Martin Milius, who is running for City Council. Now, this is your second term, is that correct?
It is.
Yeah. And you're the incumbent.
And running for the next term, 4 years instead of 5 years this time.
Right.
So.
What were some of the main issues that you needed to address or you felt were important to be addressed in this upcoming term?
Well, it's pretty much the same. Environment, the infrastructure, housing, and traffic. Okay. So those are still ongoing issues. But we do have new housing. We do have new parks. Yeah. We do have the Civic Center is on getting ready to update, and our town center is now starting the demolition for the new center.
Now, it does sound like you're pro-development. It just from what you've said there, is that appropriate, or am I missing the point there?
Well, I'm pro-smart development. Yeah, not all development, but yes, I am pro-smart development.
And you've also been a teacher before this, is that correct?
Yes, I have. I teach down at UC Santa Cruz Extension.
And what topic or subject do you teach?
It's mostly management topics, but right now I'm teaching facilitation and organization development.
All right, so is it fair to say that the city's getting a two for one? You're getting a very knowledgeable and capable city council member, and you're getting a facilitator and organizational expert?
Well, yes, you could say that. You could say that, although I never classify myself as an expert in anything because there's always more to learn.
Okay. So you mentioned the top 4 or 5 items. Do you see any big issues that you or the council can tackle in the next 12 to 18 months?
Oh, yes. We have a whole bunch of new affordable housing that's on the slate. We have more parks coming in, and we have some very active, it depends on how the election goes, but we have a lot of traffic and transit issues that we're working, and smart lights, LEDs going in. And
You have a very fortunate situation. You have a Caltrain station right here down the street.
We do. It's an excellent way.
And Caltrain's going to be upgraded in the next couple of years. It's going to be electrified.
Yep.
Goodness. So that's the city. Are you involved in that process also?
Yes, peripherally, because that's a Caltrain issue. But if B passes, then we will also have some grade separation issues that we need to address with that to make it safe for everybody.
Right. So you're currently employed as a teacher or working at the UC system.
Yes.
What has drawn you to become involved in politics and specifically municipal politics?
Well, I never, ever thought of it before. So it was partly because I liaised for my neighborhood with the council, and then I was on the Arts Commission. And from the Arts Commission, people said, well, when? Yeah. So I finally did.
Yeah, it's time to take the next step.
Yes, it is. And now I know what I'm doing. Good. I'm hopeful of moving things forward.
That's great. Well, you've paid the price, worked through the process, so you have the background. So that's great.
Keeping my fingers crossed.
Good. I want to wish you every success going forward. The election results are still being tabulated, so I hope everything goes forward. I wish you every success going forward.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. It's Jim Connor, KMVT. We'll be back at the station shortly.
Welcome back to the KMVT studios. I'm Claudia Cruz, joined here by Lenny Siegel, Mountain View City Councilman. You were the sole council member to vote for Measure V. How do you feel about the fact that it's passed?
Well, I think it's a bright spot in a bleak evening. Things are bad enough for Mountain View residents with rents going up, people losing their homes, that a majority clearly supported Measure V despite hundreds of thousands of dollars spent to convince voters it was a bad idea.
We had Kasperzak here earlier, and I think a few other members who mentioned that this was probably a good idea, but the wrong approach. Putting it in the city charter. Why did you still think that this was the right approach?
Well, I thought it was wrong to circulate a petition to make it a charter amendment because it required too many signatures. But the Tenants Coalition managed to get it on the ballot, and that was protection against what the council did, including Mr. Kasperzak, placing Measure W on the ballot. Because whether or not Measure V gets more votes or fewer votes than Measure W, it takes precedence as a charter amendment. So it was a good idea. And those council members who may have thought that W was a good idea, they should have voted to enact it rather than trying to confuse the voters by putting 2 measures on the ballot. The landlords asked the council to place Measure W on the ballot as an alternative to Measure V.
And you also voted for housing on North Bay Shore. So the idea,
Yes.
right? The idea is to, even though this may, as some people have said, also reduce the housing stock, there will be housing stock built in Mountain View.
Well,
how will that balance out?
Mountain View is on track to increasing our housing stock by 50%. At least we're planning for it. Okay. And that's the solution to our housing crisis. Rent control, just cause eviction, and Measure V are designed to prevent displacement while we're trying to solve that problem. So, you know, it's ironic. Some people say that rent control would discourage new construction. In fact, the major donors to the No on V campaign, Prometheus and Todd Speaker, have put proposals before the council to build new apartments. So it obviously isn't, again, the long-term solution is building more housing, but again, we need to protect the fabric of our community. It's being torn apart by rent increases and unjustified evictions.
So just switching over because we'll begin to wrap up. You have, I believe, 3 incumbents coming back to the city council. And
Essentially.
And Margaret, who, who was a former city council member. How do you feel about the slate of council members that you'll be working with?
You know, Mountain View doesn't have political slates or parties. We all seem to work together pretty well. You know, I agree with Margaret on minimum wage, not North Bay Shore. I agree with McAllister on transit and energy, but not on rent control. So it's a good crop of candidates and a good crop of victors, and I'm sure we'll be able to work together and continue the path, because of who's left on the council, continue the path to solving our housing crisis by building not only more housing, but building it in a way that people want to live here and in a way that doesn't worsen our traffic.
Well, no, we've been here since 7 o'clock covering the election results. We started off, you know, with, everybody. You can see the list here of people who've stopped by. Are you optimistic, national politics aside, optimistic about what's happening regionally and what could happen here in the state with some of the proposals propositions that have been passed and measures that have been passed?
Yeah, I believe that measures A and B passed countywide with more than 2/3 of the vote. That's housing and transportation. Both of those measures are really important to what we're trying to do in Mountain View. I'm hoping that what we're doing in Mountain View to provide more housing and to redesign our community to take into account this explosive growth of the tech industry that will be copied in one way or another by some of our neighbors. That we can't solve the housing and transportation problems that everybody agrees are here by ourselves, but the best way to get others to do it is to step forward, and I'm hoping that others will follow, because I think we're going to do a good job of it.
You know, I think we're beginning to wrap up. I think we've gone over because we've had so much fun tonight and so many great people to join us. Lenny, thanks so much. Where were you before you got here? You were
I was watching the national news on TV.
Well, I'm glad. Hopefully this is a bit lighter for you than the national elections. Everyone, thanks so much for joining us. You know, you got to act local, think global. Thanks to everyone who voted in their local elections early or on the day of. This is how we make sure that the things that we care about in our communities pass and are approved, and that we leave an environment better for the generations to come. I'm Claudia Cruz here at KMVT Channel 15. We cover Mountain View, Los Altos, Cupertino, and Sunnyvale. We'll see you again the next election cycle. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lenny.